always bring the good topics, man. We already know you're gonna bring some hot topics.
Well, man, it don't get much hotter right now than the whole Deion talking. Like I say, Deshaun Watson, we had his alleged victims, 10 of them that showed up. And then we got this woman up here trying to kind of rewrite history a little bit, talking about the Tuskegee experiment. She went ahead and kind of changed it up, but she still got dragged on Black Twitter for what she initially said. Max, what's going on as well to you too? So you guys go ahead and tweet the space out. We're going to go ahead and we're going to get things popping. I'm going to let a few more people come up in here, and we're going to go ahead and go in on this beautiful Sunday night. Tanisha, what's going on? Like, as always, man, I see Mel done stepped up in the spot. What's up to you as well, Mel? You know, I'm ready, you know what I'm saying, to go ahead and get this topic. I'm just going to let a couple more of us slide up in here, but y'all tell me, what do y'all want to lead off with? Because we know Deion been a hot topic button. Deion left Jackson State. He brought major attention to the HBCUs, man. Deion used his cachet, and he brought a lot of marketing and a lot of new ideas and stuff to the actual Black college experience and stuff like that. But then, you know what I'm saying, I think he was making something like $300,000 at Jackson State. And now you're talking about potentially making $5 million to $7 million at Colorado. I did not like if you're going to jump, I did not like jumping to a team like Colorado or whatever. I felt that it would have been better options down the road. I wish that he would have stayed there, and I wish that we could have, kept building up our HBCUs as well too. But, unfortunately, he felt that it was time to move on. We got Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson ain't taking a snap in 2 years. He came back, served his time, did his settlements. 2 times a grand jury decided not to go ahead and bring charges up against him, even though he went ahead and he settled out of court. Then we had, out of the allegedly 24 victims, we had 23 of them that said, hey, you know what? We're going to go ahead and we're going to show up to this 10 of them said, we're going to go ahead and we're going to show up and we're going to protest against you, Deshaun Watson, because this and that. Now, my thing is, how the hell you going to protest and you done took money, you done went ahead and took a settlement, yet you're going to come and show up to the actual, you're going to show up to the actual game. And then we got my girl here, like I say, the CDC lady, she done rewritten history about the actual Tuskegee experiment, what we call foot and disease mouth. She sits up here, she says something that's ridiculous. The Tuskegee experiment went from 1932 to 1972, withholding all kind of medicine, penicillin, and everything else. And she's talking about the sacrifice, like they volunteered to be screwed over. So yeah, man, it's hot topic. Everybody's starting to come in. I want y'all to tell me what y'all want to lead off with. Professor, you give me an idea. What's up, One Love? What's up, Ree? What's up, Cognitive? What's up, MF Kush? What's up, Tony? What's up, Numi? What's up, Carissa? What's up to all y'all pouring in here? Y'all go ahead and tweet out. Y'all tell me exactly what y'all want to lead off. It don't matter because I'll pick something. But if y'all got something in particular that y'all want to lead off with, please, by all means, let me know.
The Deion Sanders has been a hot topic all over Twitter Spaces today, due to the HBCU issue. So I see that. I can really understand why that's been a hot topic. Deshaun Watson is a hot issue too, y'all. But that's been going on now, and it's been dragging out now for about 2 years. The man has already been found, I guess you could say, really not guilty, or they didn't bring any charges. So really, everybody should just leave it alone. It's time to just let that one just go away now. They decided that there was not enough sufficient evidence there for charges. So it's time for these women to, hey, time to move on, man. The grand juries have spoken on this. Now, in regards to the CDC issue with the lady from the CDC, I would say that should be the second topic. The first one should be Deion, and then that third issue, of course, is Deshaun. But I would put it at the bottom because, as far as I'm concerned, it's kind of a dead issue now anyway.
All right, Professor. I like your idea. So you say go ahead and lead off with the Deion, and then you say put Deshaun, have him the third or the second one. I'm sorry.
I would make him the last one.
You make Deshaun the last one.
Yes, okay. And make the CDC issue the second one.
Okay. Well, if that's good with everybody else, then we can go ahead.
Hey, Newstoter. Hey, Professor.
What's going on, sister? And just so y'all know, I put in the Jumbotron all 3 of those articles about Deion, about Deshaun Watson, and the Tuskegee experiments all up in the actual Jumbotron as well too. So if y'all want to go ahead and just even if you we'll touch up on it, if you want to go ahead and retweet it out or whatever, then by all means go ahead and retweet it out. The one from the Tuskegee experiment, I think we got maybe about I forgot how many retweets and likes, so it got pretty decent traction. It didn't get the amount of traffic it should have got to the actual website. Let me just say that much. We got more traffic, we got more retweets and likes, and we got actual visitors to the website to actually go and read the actual article, which would be helpful. As they told us back in the day, reading is fundamental, family. You know what I'm saying? They say, well, if you want to hide something from black folk, put it in a book. So that also applies to the actual content on actual websites as well too. So I know we into the video age and we want to hit the videos and we want to see the videos and stuff too, but it don't hurt to actually go to the actual website. Let me give a shout out to my man Default Drop, aka my man KC on YouTube. What's going on as well, family? Let me give a shout out to my co-host that's up in the building, up in the spot as always, WPI, but we know him here as DJ. What's going on, DJ?
All good, family. What's up? Reparations up. Let's get it to Newstoter up. What's good, family? What's good, Rella?
Hey, DJ. Hey, DJ and Newstoter. I posted a survey. I need all Black women, Black American women to fill that survey out, Newstoter, because people out here in these streets talking about Black women follow the Kardashians, and we about to get in the real nitty gritty. So that'll be another space being hosted later on down the line, because y'all already know how I feel about playing on our names.
Oh yeah. You kind of set it straight the other night when we was talking about how they took the prototypical Black woman body and whatnot. You're like, well, hold on, wait a minute. Like, so yeah, that'll be a good space, Mr. Engaging. What's going on, bro?
I'm doing good. I got a lot to talk about in this Deion situation. I'm not really feeling it. And just long and short of it, I don't appreciate him using the HBCU as a footstool to gain access to better job opportunities and like advancement, like careerism. I would
look at institutions, man. White
I was about to really touch on to that in the guise of that if he wanted to make his bones and go to a WPI, then make your bones in the goddamn WPI. But don't make your bones in the HBCU and sell those young Black men up down the river and don't have nothing up for them that's tangible. That's my thing to Deion, and that was my problem with him about this. And like, I'm sorry to go on a rant about.
Well, no. You in the right spot tonight, because I want everybody to unpack. You in the right spot tonight. I figured this would be a good topic, and like I say, we're gonna touch up on all of it. So you in the right spot tonight. I'm glad that you hyped up, Mr. Engaging. Go ahead and get ready and whatnot. So I'm glad that you up in here. I'm glad we got our usuals up in here as well too. So peace to y'all. It's a Sunday night, y'all. We're gonna have a good space. And like I say, man, there's all of this is hot topic button issues right here tonight. I mean, no.
Is DJ gonna go ahead and cue up that interview?
Oh, which interview you talking about?
That Deion Sanders did.
Oh, I don't know. Did
He
DJ?
did too. So I think I'll tag you, DJ. So the first initial interview is when he actually came aboard, coming straight out of Texas, and then the one he just did. So that'll, I think, give us a little bit more concrete to actually chew during the conversation.
I mean, let me just start it off and just say that we got to remember that. Okay, Deion was a coach in Texas, like you say. He had like a little high school program in Texas or whatever. Deion then he came to the HBCUs. He came to Jackson State because Deion did not have the cachet to get a major coaching job. So I get what Mr. Engaging is saying, that he used that as a way to kind of catapult himself into this new stratosphere, because even though Deion is a Hall of Fame player, arguably the greatest cornerback of all time, Deion used his ability. He used his marketing ability, because Deion's always been a master marketer. He's up there. When we think about some of the greatest marketers in the history of sports, we think of people like Muhammad Ali and the Sugar Ray Robinson and Leonard. We think about Floyd Mayweather. We must also think about Neon Deion Primetime Sanders as well too. I grew up, I'm in Florida. I was born in Tallahassee, grew up down in Lauderdale. So I can tell you straight up that Deion has always been the master marketer. Deion used his name, and whether we like it or not, he did bring a lot of cachet. He did bring a lot of marketability to the actual HBCUs that they weren't getting. The HBCUs started getting covered more on major ESPN programs and stuff like that. You started having more sponsors coming in and start shooing in money into these actual programs as well too, because of Deion Sanders. Now, I hear a lot of people saying that, well, why don't you get more Black coaches and stuff to go there? Well, you can get more Black coaches to get there. That's not the problem. But are these black coaches going to have the name and the marketing ability that Deion Sanders got? People enjoy, and people, whether they like Deion or not, they respect Deion's ability to go ahead and sell something. So Deion used that ability. He came out of high school. The high school thing, I heard some mixed results about it, that his high school program he had wasn't really the best thing going on. But nonetheless, Deion came. He went ahead. He went to Jackson State. The first year Jackson State wasn't that big, but Deion was able to haul in major recruits and get major recruits from some of these universities and stuff that didn't work out to come there. And he also was able to go ahead and get a lot of top-notch recruits. He took Travis Hunter from Florida State, who was between Alabama or Georgia and FSU, all but signed, sealed, delivered. The number one recruit, one of the biggest recruits in the history of what they call rivals in terms of ranking the actual college athletes, and he got that boy to flip on actual national signing day and go to Jackson State. And let me just tell you, I'm a Florida State fan, and I was like, my jaw dropped when I heard this. I'm like, well, what? I'm like, why is Travis Hunter? What's the holdup? Why hasn't he signed his letter of intent? Why hasn't he declared that he's going to Florida State? I'm like, what in the hell is going on? Next thing, I start hearing rumblings online that Travis Hunter is about to flip to Jackson State. I'm like, wait a minute. This can't be like this. I like it's no way. And sure enough, Deion Sanders did what no other HBCU in the history since they've been actually collecting rankings on high school players. He did what none of them ever did before. He took the number one player from Nick Saban, arguably the greatest coach in college football history. He took it from Florida State. He took him from Georgia. Georgia was right. He was right in Georgia's backyard. He's from Georgia. He took them and flipped them. And not only that, he started taking other big time players from these major universities. He started doing that, what the HBCUs have not done since their golden age in the 1960s and the early 70s, when they were getting the top-notch players in all of college. He started getting that. He started doing that. Now, he didn't get it to the level that these other programs, but he started kind of, started flipping things and whatnot. Then I get what people saying, that he used that as a springboard. I'm like, well, yeah, if you know Deion, Deion is a master marketer. Deion is going to use one way to go ahead and benefit. I was hoping, like so many of y'all in here, I was hoping that, hey, we can get to the point that Deion would be the chip to go ahead and start getting all of these other HBCUs some attention and stuff like that, and start kind of hauling in some of these major players and stuff like that. It didn't work out. After 3 years there, Deion went ahead. Like I say, his contract, I believe, with Jackson State is something like $300,000 a year. He's going to Colorado. Colorado ain't been spit since the 1990s, okay? Colorado ain't been Jack since the 1990s. Going to a program like Colorado surprised me. I thought he could have held out in another year or two, kept putting whippings on those HBCU teams in the SWAC, and probably got a better landing someplace else. That didn't happen, so he decided to go ahead and take his talents elsewhere. With that said, y'all, you're going from $300,000 a year job to potentially $5 to $7 million. That's what he's actually doing. He's actually going from $300K to he's making at least $5 million a year. And don't think for a second that these schools, these major schools, and kind of see how he was able to sway, and they started getting nervous and stuff like that. Had Deion Sanders taken the South Florida job here in Florida, I guarantee you that you'd have had the University of Miami, Florida State, and Florida somewhat anxious as well, too, because now you got somebody who can recruit against all of them as well, too. He's got the cachet. Most of these kids' dads grew up looking at him and stuff like that, idolizing him, respecting his ability, his talent. That would have meant something. I wish he would have stayed at the HBCUs. With that said, I'm not going to hog the spot up, because I know a lot of our people want to go ahead. They got their hands up. They want to talk. So y'all go ahead, put your hands up. And I'm going to tell you, truthfully, I don't know. I know Professor had his hand up, Misengaging, Black Pressure, Mel. So DJ, we got Ree with her hand up. So Professor, I believe, I could be wrong, I believe you had your hand up first. I'm not sure.
It was Mr. Engaging had him first, then me second, then Mel, and then I see Rilla just put hers up.
Okay, so it was Mr.
Okay, just give us some numbers. 1, 2, 3.
We got Mr. Engaging.
So I guess he'd be last, I guess.
No, I think Black.
I want to make a good point, because I'm kind of really beat off about this Deion Sanders situation. Like, he had the opportunity to be a leader and be somebody in the community and actually compete against WPI institutions. And it upsets me that he rather play ball with them instead of supporting his people. And I already knew the red flag when he had that one white guy amongst his rank. I already knew that he was on some BS. So man, I'm just disappointed. He had an opportunity to build his own table in his own house, but yet still he wants to just have a room in the master's house. So I'm just not feeling it.
Real talk, brother. I mean, like I say, there's a lot of black people that's pissed off about it and whatnot. Deion was making a business type move the same way he used to when he played football. And Deion saw a 200-pound running back, 220-pound running back breaking free, and Deion started kind of arm tackling, didn't want to throw his body. And Deion said, "I'm making a business decision right here for the long haul." I'm kind of, I knew it was going to happen because I've been following Deion Sanders since I was 9-10 years of age. So I know Deion, man. So, I see Deion when it came draft time. He had the chain on and whatnot. All I can see is the limelight and the dollars and this and that. I've been watching Deion since I was 9-10 years old. So, I mean, I know exactly how Deion is. So it didn't surprise me. I know people's always talk about him coming to Florida State. I'm like, that ain't going to happen. Florida State had one black coach in Willie Taggart. Willie Taggart got fired in a year and a half in his tenure because he wasn't turned around quick enough. These white folks in Tallahassee and Florida State are not about to hire no Deion Sanders. I don't care what kind of cachet, but he could have possibly got a bigger job. So, Mr. Engaging, stick around. I appreciate that, brother. We're going to go ahead and kick it to, I believe it was Professor. Professor, you were next. Then you said, who was next? Then Ree after you?
It's Mel, then Ree, and then Black Pressure.
Okay, no doubt. Go ahead, Mel.
Oh, okay. Well, listen, thanks for letting me speak, y'all. I just wanted to, at first I was thinking that Deion was doing wrong and that he was abandoning us. But then I saw on Twitter that Jackson State is in support of this move to Colorado that Deion has made. And there's a poll in the chat asking if you support, and the letter from Jackson State is attached. But when I saw the letter from Jackson State, I was like, well, maybe there's, a greater mission for Deion in Colorado. But I didn't know that Jackson State was supporting this move. And maybe Jackson State, now that Deion has shown them how it goes down, maybe they're like, shit, get out the way, Deion. We got this now. So, I guess we could just keep that support letter from Jackson in mind as we, mull over this controversy. I'll land my plane.
Thank you, Mel. And also, let me give a shout out to the Real Dana. I see she's up in the actual space too. If you guys have not, go to YouTube and subscribe to the Real Dana's her YouTube channel. You can often catch her and Judge Joe Brown on there. They have a very, very good show, very good report. So go ahead and support this sister as well too. Very intelligent, bright sister, and I enjoy listening to her actual YouTube channels and stuff. Let's go ahead and you say Ree is next. And Ree, Mel, I'm gonna say this real quick. What else could Jackson State? What? Oh, it's you, Professor. It's
actually me.
Oh,
that's good.
But no, Professor. But real quick, Professor, before I go to you, I just want to say this right here, Mel. It's nothing really Jackson State could say. Like, I mean, and I'm sure they probably do wish him well and whatnot, but there's nothing they really could say because at the end of the day, you don't want to have sour grapes and whatnot. You want to go ahead and wish him well and this and that. So I understand that. Hey, it just wouldn't really make sense for them to go ahead and throw salt on his name and stuff like that. So
yeah, exactly. I feel you. You're right.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and kick it to Professor.
Yeah, all I was going to say, and I don't know if anybody caught this game back when Alabama State and Jack State played, but Eddie Robinson Jr., who is the son of the legendary coach Eddie Robinson Sr., who coached at Grambling State, Eddie Robinson Jr. and Primetime had an exchange of words at the end of the game. It was kind of like a little pushing thing there at the end. And Eddie Robinson Jr., of course, said that Deion is not a swag coach. I think he kind of felt like Deion was just using this whole thing as a stumbling stone, as a, what is it? I said stumbling stone, but as a way to move.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a way to move to a PWI, which is what he's doing. He's moving to Colorado. And so I guess it's going to really come to fruition here that Eddie Robinson Jr. was correct on what he said.
Well, I mean, he said that he wasn't SWAC. So, I mean, like I said, he was there 3 years, and that argument could be made whether he's SWAC or not. So, Like I say, it's going to be interesting. What I'm hoping, man, is that, this kind of goes ahead and it motivates some of the other big name black coaches that's in there to go ahead and maybe go to those ranks. And like I say, there's not very many players that have the cachet of Deion Sanders. So you have to really be honest as well too. So you have to have a superstar going there that's really going to go ahead and gather that attention. And then you have to get the results like Deion did too. Because of Deion and his name and the cachet, he was able to reel in top level recruits as well too, because no matter what anybody tells you, the bloodline of any program athletically in collegiate sports is built on the actual athletes. That's what it's about. You can be the greatest coach or whatever, X and O's, but if you don't have the horses to go out there and run, you're going to be coming in last place all the time. Reed, go ahead and unmute your mic, sister.
Thank you for that, and I will always say this as a daughter of a football family. Defense wins games, so I wanted to say that, and somebody who also ran stats on the sideline. So listen, this is my opinion about Deion Sanders in prime time. He's always been that way in his career. At the end of the day, for what it's worth, his imagery did bring light to the fact that HBCUs are underfunded, and it's not that we didn't know that. Second of all, PWIs are not putting black head coaches in position. They're not putting up black head coaches, period. That's been an argument, I think, over the last couple of weeks as well. And so him going to Colorado, it answers two things. That Colorado is putting up a black head coach for their program, who's coming out of an HBCU program that he actually pretty much reinvigorated, even if you don't like him or not. I honestly believe that Deion Sanders is actually trying to get his resume jacket up so that he actually can move into the NFL to head one of the NFL teams. That is, I look long term. The other thing is, I actually been paying attention and reading some articles and listening to the interviews, and words matter. And I believe that he did say that they're going to do some sort of cross connection with Colorado, which was part of the agreement for him leaving Jackson State and taking a lot of the staff. The other part that I also see, because Newstoter, I always have there's always a caveat, and that I believe that this is also a wake-up call for people who vote blue, no matter who are not paying attention to legislation that actually affects both HBCUs and the community at large. Jackson, Mississippi, and the issue with money being siphoned out of the state away from programs in the colleges in the state, that is an open door eye-opener with this situation. It keeps Jackson, it keeps Mississippi pretty much on the talking lips of the media to expose a lot of the issues that are going on surrounding infrastructure, which a lot of the HBCUs in these areas are not being properly taken care of because the community is not properly being taken care of. So our students, our children, aren't able to get and see thriving potential from athletes, not just in football either. You talking about the athletic director sent out a letter that Mel is talking about. I saw the letter, and that they're congratulating Deion Sanders not to sour the relationship, but I'm pretty sure, hopefully, and I'm hoping that there's some backdoor deals that happen that money will be, or he will be able to actually help funnel to support Jacksonville, because they were devastated with the situation with the water down in Mississippi. It's bigger than, I think, Deion moving. The other thing, also, the community itself not championing high school coaches and their teams to move up into the college level rankings, to become head coaches, to start facilitating and carrying a lot of these schools, so that they also are recognized. And I think to Professor's point, that is what I believe Alabama State coach was actually talking about. It's not necessarily, maybe it could have been maybe some annoyance because Deion Sanders is loud and he is who he is, but it's to say we are ignored. We were ignored prior to Deion Sanders coming here. they have already been fighting to put programs in place prior to Deion Sanders influencing, the media. And again, sometimes we can't just hold on to what we feel one person should be doing without taking a look at what's actually happening to the community as a whole and why we are not getting the entire support from professionals, coaches, even on the high school level, to be propped up and moved into these schools to do exactly what Deion did. I don't believe Deion is a one and done type coach. We can't get another one. As a matter of fact, like I said, my family are a football family, and they did wonderful things in Inglewood, California. I went to Morningside High School. They produced top level athletes, and they did not get a chance to actually move up into college level careers because they were not trying to do that for Black coaches at all. And it's no different in PWIs. And so I'm hoping we broaden this discussion, and I hope that people take a look at this as a way to say, if we don't want this type of situation happening again, but we would welcome a Deion type personality that hypes up the experience and the levels in the schools, that brings money in, influences athletes, that trains them and raises these young boys or men, coming up in out of college, even if they don't make it to the NFL, right? That we are actually putting in our best and brightest and coaching staff from the community, and we're circulating our money like we are always talking about doing. So I'm hoping we broaden this discussion, and that's where I land. Thank you so much for letting me speak.
You're welcome, sister. As always, glad to have you. Carissa, I see you had you lost your position, but you back up here, so don't worry. I'm gonna get to you in a second as well, sister. We're gonna go Black Pressure. We're gonna go Chase. We're gonna get to you, Carissa. Volvo is also up here, but he must have lost connection. We'll get to Mr. Engaging, and we'll get to Ray as well too. So let me just say this real quick before I kick it to Black Pressure, that people don't understand that Deion was up for the South Florida job here. That's in Tampa. Deion told the people in South Florida is doing new construction on the stadium. This is when I talk about the personality that Deion has and just hit the way he feels about things. Deion told the people that to be considered for the coaching job, that he would need to have some say on the actual construction of the new stadium. Now, how many coaches, how many people who've never coached major college ball? Because even though South Florida sucks, South Florida is what they call a group of five. It's not quite at the level of Florida State and Florida and those schools. It's the next tier, but it's still a major school. It's still a major step up over, say, Jackson State and the HBCUs and those programs. But he tells the people that, hey, in order to consider actually coaching here at the University of South Florida, y'all gonna have to go ahead and allow me to have some say in the actual development of this new stadium that y'all spending, that is probably costing y'all tens of millions of dollars to go ahead. So that, like I say, he's a little bit of a different character than a lot of other people. There are a lot of athletes and players that you could say that were great NFL players. Most great players don't make great coaches, if you just want to be honest. And I'm not sure how great he is in terms of X or O's, but he has surrounded himself with some pretty capable people and stuff like that. But to just have somebody sit up here and tell you that, hey, if you want to hire me, then you're going to have to, in terms of you building this new stadium, I got to have some say in it. That takes some balls really to come up and say something like that right there. Black Pressure, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hey, what's up, Black family? News, DJ, Ray, what's up?
What's up?
So, this is what I'm going to do, man. I'm going to open up my cash app. All right. I'm going to take my apology, $20 at a time, from everybody in the room. Y'all can send it whenever you want. Because, News, do you remember 2 months ago, it was in a room, and we got on the topic of college football, and you said, hey, we're going to have this another room for another day. And I said this, because you and I went back and forth about it. We said, if Mike Norvell does not do anything at Florida State, I said Florida State is going to open up their checkbook, leave the amount blank, slide it to Deion, and say, fill in what you want. And I said, if Mike Norvell ends up doing something, another Power 5 school is going to slide Deion a blank check and say, fill in what you want. And what happened? and I know I'm listening to the room. Excuse me. And I heard all the debates on Twitter earlier today, and people are trying to appeal to a moral compass and appeal to blackness, and people are trying to, I guess I could say, debate with their emotions. But I said this: money, 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 money. I don't care. Whoever gets in this room and speaks, I don't care if you recite the autobiography of Malcolm X, Message to the Black Man, the 42 Negative Confessions of My Eye. You will never beat money. College football is a business, period. They came with an amount that was what? Quintuple what Deion gets paid, and he loves it.
10 times, at least 10 times what he's getting paid.
Yeah, it's going to happen with Deion. It's going to happen with the next black man. It's going to happen with the next black man, the next black man, and the next black man. Do not put your emotions in this. It is about money, period. And I'll land my plane there.
Yeah, you did say that, Black Pressure.
Only thing I say, Black Pressure, like I told you before, and I didn't debate that whether he would possibly get, a major job, but I knew he wasn't going to get the Florida State job because it's a lot of boosters up here in Florida State that don't like Deion because they felt Deion has never actively promoted Florida State in terms of after he left, that he's the most successful player to ever come out of there. But they have never. Hey, DJ, see if you could go ahead and get Carissa. She's trying to request. I'm trying to connect her, but I can't get her. See if you can.
It's not letting me either.
It's not letting you either. Okay, I'm gonna try.
Oh Lord, this nigga's backing up, dude. Willa just dropped down too. She's dropping out.
Yeah,
I'll tell you this real quick news, just real quick. It was doing that to me while Professor and Rilla were talking. I switched to my Wi-Fi and it started acting right, but just on your phone signal, it's gonna try to drop you out.
Okay.
Yeah, get on your Wi-Fi, man.
Yeah, everybody do need to get on their Wi-Fi because I found that when you try to do it on your data, you out. They're gonna put you down for every time. So get on your Wi-Fi, everybody.
And speaking and Black Pressure, I'm glad you mentioned the Cash App. Speaking of the Cash App, we have that also in the Jumbotron. That's $Newstoter, $Newstoter. Newstoter is the largest curator today of Black news, the largest Black-owned news curation platform today in America. So if you guys can, if you have $1 or $2 that you could spare, please go ahead and donate it to newstoter.com. If you don't have a Cash App, we also have the Venmo and PayPal up in the Jumbotron as well, too. Let me kick it to Chase. Chase, how you doing? It's been a little minute since I've heard you in Newstoter space. What's going on?
Peace to you, family. How are you? I hope everybody's doing well tonight.
What's up?
All right. Yeah, man. Bro, so many folks, they get, we get wrapped up, and I'm saying we collectively, we get wrapped up into these folks that we see they have made a move that can effectuate some type of change. And, if we get Deion at this little HBCU, that's going to bring other top-notch talent to the HBCUs, and it's going to give them a little bit more credibility. And guess what? We constantly get let down. I mean, whoever thought that Deion Sanders was going to be the one to revitalize HBCUs? I think he was just into some feel-good shit. These people, once they start playing sports and they start making that money, they're really separated from the rest of Black society, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? And it was like, who is surprised by this? Why would anybody be surprised if a man is presented with an option of making $300,000 a year or $10 million? What would you do? I mean, that's a simple answer in my part. It was like, if everybody didn't know that Deion Sanders was a self, that he was about himself, I don't think they've been paying attention to Deion Sanders. Because remember, Deion ain't never did nothing unless it benefited him, bro. Think about that now. I think, we do ourselves a disservice, man, when we sit up here and we hope, somebody's going to come along and help. Man, ain't nobody going to help us out except us. If you guys are grooming y'all kids to be athletes and stuff like that, you got to keep them grounded. Once Deion Sanders became primetime, that's the wrap. You might come back to the hood and give out some turkeys and do some little football camps or whatever like that, man. But do you really think anybody give a damn about black people once they made it? I'm gonna stop the bus on that.
All right, bro. I definitely agree. And for those who don't remember, back in the 90s, Deion dropped the song letting everybody know it must be the money. I mean, Deion lets you know from day one or whatever. Like I said, I've been following Deion because I'm an avid Florida State fan. I've been following the man. So, I mean, Deion let you know that, hey, when he got drafted, he told me when he intercepted that last pass in college against Auburn, all I could see was dollar signs and stuff like that. So Deion, he's not kidding with you, man. He's letting you know that, hey, it's about that money. And like you say, how many people in our regular day, and if you had a chance, if you're making $50,000 a year and somebody say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give you 10 times that amount. You got a chance to make $500,000 a year. How many people in this space would actually turn it down? Or if you was making $25,000 a year and somebody say, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give you $250,000 a year. Now, I think the thing with everybody saying, well, Deion already had money. Deion was already wealthy. Deion was already paid and this and that. Deion ain't hurting for any cash. So people thought that Deion was doing this as a feel-good story. And Deion, he has ambitions, so he wants to go on. Who knows? He may want to coach at the next stop for him will be a Power 5. Well, he's at a Power 5. You got caught by a real major type team. So he's looking to go ahead and elevate his career. I don't know if Deion, he said, if anybody saw a couple weeks ago, he did an interview on 60 Minutes. Deion doesn't want to go ahead and coach the pros because when you're trying to coach, it's hard to go ahead and get control over people that make more money than you. There's very few college coaches that have ever come up and been successful in NFL. So Deion, I think his bread and butter is going to be to stay in the college ranks. The thing about Deion is, will Deion eventually get bored and tired and like, hey, I want to do something else different because I'm Deion Sanders. And Chase, just getting to your point, I agree with you. So I think that so many people were happy because in our lifetimes, this is the most excitement I've seen around HBCU football. I remember when BET back in the day in the 90s used to have a game of the week and they would show the top game of the week or whatever. And think how long ago that's been. But this is the most excitement. And we've had legendary coaches in college. We had Eddie Robinson all-time winningest coach and at that time. And you still don't have that kind of excitement. The only time I can remember this type of excitement is when you had Steve McNair when he was the quarterback at Alcorn State. That's the only time you had it. Steve McNair ran like third or fourth in the Heisman back in the day, like in 95. That was unheard of to have from a historically black college. He was on ESPN. He was just the monster or whatever. So that's the last time I've seen this level of interest in college football. And I have never seen it even with the legendary Eddie Robinson. I have not seen a coach come in there. And because Deion certainly is not at the level of Eddie Robinson, but Deion's name and stuff is known, even though he hasn't played football and I don't know when. These kids that signed with him don't even know Deion from when he played, but it's their parents. So I think that's what it was. People felt like, okay, he brought a level of excitement and everything else, and he brought the marketability to the HBCUs and stuff like that. The attention that they were so desperately missing that's I think what just really grabbed people by the heart and stuff like that and kind of hurt them. So, like I said, it's kind of hard to turn it down. You go from making $300,000 a year to making at least $5 to $7 million. He's at least making $5 million, I would assume, even at Colorado. So, Carissa, I'm glad to see that your issues with your connection are gone. So, sister, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hey guys, how you doing?
How you doing?
How you doing, Sister Carissa?
I'm good. I'm not surprised at all. I'm being honest. Because I know how Deion Sanders is since he was in the NFL. So anybody who does not understand sports and who he is wouldn't understand it. Me, I did not go to HBCU school because I grew up in New York and in Boston, and those were never promoted. We didn't even know they existed. And I went to Catholic school. So what they would tell us, the top schools that will hire you and how much you're going to be making. So I went to University of Massachusetts and I graduated without no debt because I had scholarships and everything. because that's what they offer. So I know people who went there, as well as the top school, like the Buckeye, like Alabama, where to go to St. Nick. If you want to play football, if you're a linebacker, everybody knows you go to Alabama because Nick Saban is close with Bill Belichick. It's all about who you know and your connections. People not understanding that. And from when I saw the interview when he did on CBS, that school, Jackson State, was a hot mess. Like, he said you couldn't eat, they can't even fix anything in that school. Let's be honest, HBCUs, from my understanding from people, are very, very underfunded. And to get new equipment, to get this, to get that, they're so behind when it comes to talent level. And remember, at one point, there were people from basketball teams who refused to go to HBCUs because they had nothing or they only had partial scholarships. They're not going to write that. These recruits come out who are in plain clothes. They don't know who you are. They'll say hi to you, good morning, this, that, and the third. They will watch you from when he was young. And then afterwards, that's when they start getting your name out there. You're not going to know, but they do know. And your name gets circled. How the universities pitch to you, they have a pitch plan to the parents. And normally they say, especially if you're low, and it's sad to say, if it's low-income Black people, they will prey the most on you. They will say, here's a check for this. We can do this to you, this, that to you, so you can get out of this better situation. And that's how they get where they are. And these big, like the Big 12. I don't know if people know that. They signed a big television deal almost worth $1 billion.
Yeah, them and the SEC. The SEC's got a big deal coming up too as well. So yeah.
Yeah, and most of the games are on ESPN. Fox has a couple, the majority of it is on ESPN. They're making money. From my understanding, the white coaches, they have a whole a community together that they elevate their own people. I don't know if the Black coaches have that as yet. And also, there's another thing that's important, the alma maters. They don't give back to the communities that they coach to. A majority of Black people, they don't go to the Black alma maters. They go to WPIs because of what they're bringing. If that means that my tuition is going to be less, if that means dormant, if that means full scholarships, that's what these white universities are offering versus HBCUs. The HBCUs right now are riding this new wave. That's not going to last for long. They have to produce something. And you have a lot of talent and athletes coming up. If you want to groom them, you have to change everything. Even if that means merging some of the universities together just to get the funding that you need. That means doing tours. Invite them to tours. I know people are going to be mad, but some of the HBCUs already did partnership with the Hispanic community, especially in Virginia. So they offer Latin studies, which people were complaining about that. Like, what? So you do have a lot of Hispanics now who are in the HBCU system, especially in Virginia and in Texas, from my understanding. So wherever they were coming, at one point I remember one of the deans said, we will take anybody, we don't matter, just to have their doors open. How many times do you have to hear them? They losing their accreditations. We can't pay this. Something is wrong. Like the whole HBCU needs to be in a new overhaul, because it looks like you have a lot of born first generations who are in charge, who are not saying what they need to be saying, who will hide behind the Democrats, sorry to say this, and hide and be like, well, we have this, we don't have. No, you need a new attitude. You need a Farrakhan up in there. Let's be honest with you. If you do not have somebody who has a plan A, B, C, how are we going to recruit, even from a young age, go to the community schools and say, hey, this is what we offer, this is what we do. Revamp the books, revamp the tuition. Stop offering half tuition, half scholarship. Offer full scholarships. They lost a lot of nurses and stuff to NYU here in New York because they said they were giving free tuition to nurses. A lot of people from HBCU came up here to New York because of the program. And since NYU is NYU University and they have a hospital, they were easy to do. They got a job right after that. And that's something HBCUs need to do. They need to start doing partnerships. They need to have somebody, they need to have a dog who can bark and who's not going to back down from them. They can't keep saying the same old tune to Congress like, we need this, we need that. No. Dr. Claude Anderson, get him involved. Why are we not getting the OGs who've been around? What are you scared of? That's all I have to say on that. And Coach Prime I would say, I'm not mad at Coach Prime. Congrats to you. You want to move up. I understand how much they were paying you. You have to pay your whole staff too. Because he got some of his coaches from the NFL. You have to pay them.
All right. Appreciate that, sister. I would definitely I definitely agree with a lot of what you said. People also you have to put this in the historical point as well too, because when you had integration take place, the HBCUs got left out. I mean, they could have easily, if they really wanted these HBCUs to actually still thrive in terms of athletics, they would have went ahead and in these conferences, the ACC, the SEC, the Big Ten, and all these other conferences, they would allow some of these historically black colleges to come there, but they did not. They shut them out. They shut them out, and they end up started cherry picking and getting the very top of the talent. So that in itself destroyed the actual HBCUs. You should have had Grambling and FAMU and stuff like that in the SEC and in the ACC and those type of conferences as well. And they would have been absolute monsters and powerhouses. And they knew this, and they did not want to compete with that. You know, you had the schools out west like USC that saw segregation at the time. USC out west, they had teams that were desegregated, and that's why they was kicking the dog out of a lot of these southern teams. Alabama legendary coach Paul Bear Bryant, he saw this. He said, "Damn," he said, "I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna get me some of them black boys." And Bear Bryant was just as redneck as it came. But he saw that times was changing, and he saw who the best athletes were. And if we're gonna be able to compete with USC and these other teams, and Ohio State and these teams up north, then we got to go ahead and we got to start getting these black players because it makes sense because there's more of these black players in the actual South. So the actual landscape that changed, it squeezed the HBCUs out. The HBCUs were the biggest producers of black talent, and they got squeezed out. And by getting squeezed out, you had that. Because FAMU went down, and when FAMU went down, that brought up the rise of teams like Florida State and Miami in the state of Florida and the Florida Gators. Had that not happened, you know, they would have been able to compete with them, but they can't now. So we have to also look at that historically. That when we came with integration, they could have went ahead and they could have allowed those teams to go right in there and the old SWAC conference and stuff like that. You could have been playing with Oklahoma and all of those other teams out there where they had the SWAC and all that other stuff. The Big Eight, which are no longer conferences anymore, but they didn't do that. They said, "Oh, you know, you guys are on your own. Y'all go ahead and y'all stay in your black divisions and this and that. And while you stay in your black divisions, we're gonna also take the cream of the crop from you guys." So we gotta also kind of remember that as well too. Let me give a shout out to my man Be More Codified for your contribution on Cash App as well too. As always, we definitely love that, and thank you so much for the contribution. Let me go ahead and kick it to I want to kick it to Mr. Engaging. Then I want to kick it to Ray. Then I'm going to kick it back to Chase. But you know what, y'all? Before I kick it to y'all, I just want to go ahead and touch up on this article real quick. Y'all can go back and get on the Deion thing because I know that is the hot topic button, but y'all really need to hear about this Tuskegee experiment. This woman from the CDC, she was kind of, you know, all over the place and whatnot, and she got checked on for her comments and stuff about what she was saying. It says, and this is from Atlanta Black Star curator Newstoter.com. And like I said, y'all keep your hands up because y'all, even though I'm going to read this, you can go right back to the Deion topic. I don't want y'all to lose your thought. I just want to go ahead and put this in the actual chat as well, too, so everybody can understand and know what's going on. It says, CDC director gets dragged by Twitter users who claim she said victims of Tuskegee experiment willingly made a sacrifice. Rochelle Walensky, the head of the Centers for the Disease Control Prevention, the National Public Health Agency, is under fire after tweeting an announcement that offended many on Black Twitter. The director wanted to share news about the federal commemoration of the Tuskegee experiment coming to an end, but used language that some constructed as whitewashing the vile government-funded experiment. On Tuesday, November 29th, she took to social media to promote a CDC event acknowledging the end of the 40-year study that tricked over 600 Black men in living with syphilis for the United States government research. Some felt the statement was clumsy and inferred that the victims voluntarily sacrificed for the advancement of science. She tweeted, "I will be joining colleagues and public health leaders as we honor the 623 African-American men that suffering and sacrifice in our commitment to ethical research and practice." Twitter erupted with people blasting her as misrepresenting one of the nation's most horrible crimes against Black people in the 20th century. The Fayetteville Observer columnist Myron B. Pitts tweeted, "Sacrifice is not the right word. They were lied to. Suffering is correct." That's kind of like, That's kind of like saying the doctors who conducted the Tuskegee experiment meant well. M. Gray tweeted, a sacrifice is something one willingly does. The Journey G tweeted, "Sacrifice such as those forced to partake in the Tuskegee experiment is something altogether different." She did not take her tweet down, but posted a follow-up message about the event saying, "I join many to reflect on the untreated syphilis study at Tuskegee. We honor the 623 African-American men who were subject to the study and acknowledge their pain and that of their families," she wrote. "Their legacy lives on today, and their stories and history must never be forgotten. The Macon County, Alabama men in the experiment were never told they were not being treated for their conditions, but were actually under watch for scientists to study the progression of syphilis, a sexually transmitted disease if left untreated. According to the CDC, the original name of the experiment was called the Tuskegee Study of Untreated Syphilis in the Negro Male and is now referred to as USPHS Syphilis Study at Tuskegee. The website states the study initially involved 600 Black men, 399 with syphilis, 201 who did not have the disease. However, in the end, more men were included. Those who participated in the study, which was conducted with the cooperation of Black medical professionals at Tuskegee Institute HBCU, never consented to the syphilis research to be conducted, and data collected as the men were told they were being treated for bad blood, a local term used to describe several ailments including syphilis, anemia, and fatigue. The government offered the men free medical exams, free meals, and burial insurance to participate in the study for 4 decades, ranging from 1932 to 1972, after a whistleblower leaked that the men were unaware, according to Newsweek. To complicate her comments about the country's commitment to ethical research and practice, penicillin, a drug used to treat syphilis, became available and was widely used by 1943, but researchers refused to administer it to those in the study, even to those whose health went into decline because of the disease. Informed consent in medical studies is one of the enduring legacies of the Tuskegee study. Many say this study, the extraction of miracle cells from Henrietta Lacks, and the practices of women during slavery to further gynecology research are but a few reasons why Black people remain distrustful of American medical practices. A strain that stops many from going to the doctors for health checkups and wellness concerns, the Commonwealth Fund reports. The Equal Justice Initiative said 128 participants died of syphilis or related complications. It also revealed 40 of their wives were infected with the disease, and 19 children were born with congenital syphilis. All of this has been maintained in CDC records and was stopped because the Associated Press journalist Jen Heller broke the story and shook the medical world on July 25th, 1972. Pressure from the public was a catalyst of the Tuskegee syphilis study being shut down 3 months later. The men filed a lawsuit that ended the government reaching a $9 million settlement for them and their estates. On May 16, 1997, President Bill Clinton formally apologized for the nation's role in the study. He said the 8 men who are survivors of the syphilis study at Tuskegee are a living link to a time not so very long ago that many Americans would prefer not to remember, but we dare not forget. It was a time when our nation failed to live up to its ideas, when our nation broke the trust with our people, and is a very foundation of our democracy. It is not only remembering that shameful past that we can make amends and repair our nation, but it's also remembering that the past we can build a better present and a better future, he said. And without remembering it, we cannot make amends and we cannot go forward. Medical people are supposed to help when we need care, but once a cure was discovered, they were denied help and they were lied to by the government. Our government is supposed to protect the rights of its citizens. Their rights were trampled upon. 40 years, hundreds of men betrayed along with their wives and children, he said. The apology continues saying, no power on earth can give back the lives lost, the pain suffered, the years of internal torment and anguish. What was done cannot be undone, but we can end the silence. We can stop turning our heads away. We can look at you in the eye and finally say, on behalf of American people, when the United States government did was shameful and I'm sorry. Adding, the American people are sorry for the loss, for the years of hurt. You did nothing wrong, but you were grievously wrong. So I just wanted to go ahead and put that out there. And we can go ahead and get back to Mr. Engaging. And you guys can go ahead and
I want to respond to that.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, first of all, she said ethical experimentation. That kind of rubbed me the wrong way. There was nothing really ethical about the situation. Second of all, is that when these white people and these institutions make commemorable statements, they don't check in with our elders like Dr. Claude Anderson or our black historians and such to formulate a respectable apology or a statement. You know what I mean? The same way that they go to other communities, they go to their historical leaders or their rabbis or their preachers or etc. Like, that needs to be done. After hearing and seeing that, and that deals with all institutions across the board. Like, it doesn't matter if they're a police officer or whatever. They need to really, like, they can't just make a statement saying, like, for example, they had the FBI making a comment talking about Martin Luther King. Like, they're out of pocket. So, like, when I see those type of statements, I really think they need to be sued, or they need to be some type of retaliation for that. And then I want to get back to that Deion thing. Deion has a lot of money. Like, respectfully, I think that he could have constructed a plan to make that $5 million out of that $300,000 by staying at the HBCU and putting his money and figuring out a way versus like I going to a WPI. I think he took the easy way out. Then on top of that, he could have sued or could have filed a class action lawsuit with the other people to get the resources that needed for the HBCUs to be on the same equitable standing point so that they can be competitive. What is this separate but equal garbage that they're promoting, and they still don't have the same resources as a WPI? That's a problem. So I think that he could have used his star power to actually sway the whole jury to actually do something to actually change and actually benefit our community. So I'm really heavily disappointed in that, brother.
Real talk, brother. I mean, I get what you're saying, and like I said, we know he has the cash, and Deion ain't hurting for no money. So I definitely feel what you're saying and whatnot, Mr. Engaging. I don't want you to think I don't understand what you're saying, but like I said, you also got to remember the persona of primetime, Neon Deion, and Deion. You know, Deion is a capitalist. I mean, we live in a capitalistic society, and he is a capitalist in the truest sense. One of the sisters in the comment section say, "Hey, you know, if you haven't donated and you haven't helped out the HBCUs and you really have no say in it," that's what they're saying to people. Like, hey, one of my other people on another one of my people was saying on YouTube was saying that, hey, you know, we can't be like white folks here and stuff like that and act like we own coaches and players and stuff like that. Deion was looking out for himself and he was looking out for the well-being of his family. So it's a lot of, and this is why I wanted to have this space, because it's a lot of it's a lot of different various views and opinions on this right here, and it makes great dialogue. And you know, there's nothing wrong with discussing it. At the end of the day, I mean, like I say, I think all of us would have liked to seen him stay there, but you know, some of us also understand too that at the end of the day, it is a business, and people are going to look out for their best interest. So, you know, I personally don't have anything against it. I would have liked to see him stay there and turn Jackson State into a juggernaut that could have possibly competed with some of these really big boys and stuff like that. And who knows, if Deion had stayed there 10 years, that, you know, that could have been a possibility that he could have had classes and with this transfer portal where you can basically buy players and get them to come in now, which you couldn't do before. that could have been a real possibility. But I guess at this point, we won't see that. I want to get to the hands in the room, but we got a couple new speakers too. We got Brother McCool and we got LB. So I want to let Brother McCool and LB, and then we're gonna get back to you, Ray, Chase, Love, and Black Pressure. Brother McCool, go ahead and unmute your mic.
What's going on, family? Deion definitely, since back in the day when him and Moss was running the game, it was always about that money. So Deion Sanders and everything going on with him feel like it's a distraction and everything else that's going on. I want to put out there prayers to Claude Anderson. That's my man, aka Mr. Money Man. Not really doing too well in his health lately. So I just want to put prayers out to Dr. Claude Anderson. Everything else, man, is a distraction. I just read a little earlier. Dr. Claude Anderson ain't doing too well. So just wanted to put everybody, up with that. And, Deion, HBCUs, I think, I don't know. Deion said what he said. And we just had to keep it at that. We can't get at the point that we are at now. We just can't get caught up with all of the, confusion. Especially when it's dealing with Deion, Deshaun, or whoever. In sports. We already know sports took the place of lynching. So Deion, he's doing what I expected him to do. Since day one. Even when Deion was playing for Baltimore back in the day, he was still all about the money. You know what I mean? And you can't get mad at that. This NFL has made a lot of money off of Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders has made a lot of money for the NFL. So I feel like, all that Deion is doing right now, he deserves. Good and bad. You know what I mean? So I land there.
Real talk, brother. Definitely appreciate it. Always you coming in. Y'all make sure y'all support Be More Codified. DJ, make sure you go ahead and put Be More Codified also up there in the Jumbotron. When you guys get a chance, go ahead and put that up in the Jumbotron. Brother McCool, you can go ahead and put up in the Jumbotron yourself, bro. You right up here as a speaker. So go ahead and put up Be More Codified. That's that Black First agenda, that Black First gear. So y'all make sure y'all go ahead and check out his website. Great gear. We're gonna have some Newstoter gear hitting y'all up soon as well too. So we're gonna get the t-shirts and some sweatshirts and everything else, man. So y'all make hoodies. Y'all make sure y'all go ahead and support this brother as well too. We had LB. So you got your hand up. Let's go ahead and let you get to the mic as well. Go ahead and unmute your mic.
So as far as the whole Deion thing goes, man, Deion, I've been following him since he was on the NFL Network. His personal goal was always to be at a Power 5 school. It's not like he wanted to go to an HBCU. And then on top of that, he didn't go to an HBCU. So his mindset is different than someone who did go to an HBCU. I'm saying I can't speak for HBCUs. I went to Michigan University. So I'm saying my little sister, she goes to an HBCU. But his whole mindset has always been, since before Jackson State even hired him, was to go to a Power 5 school and be a top coach and coach against, he's a competitor, coach against the best. So as far as that goes, I'm really not surprised. He wants to go to he went to Florida State University. So he really wants to go to his alma mater and coach, but they didn't hire him. I think, this is not really a surprise. To me, it's not a surprise. So I'm not really like, I don't know. I feel like it's not like he left Jackson State in disarray. He went there, he dominated. Now they got some new facilities. They got a bunch of new things that they didn't have before. So he's leaving better than he found it. And now he's going to a Power 5 school. He's going to a school. And I don't even think he's going to stay there for real. I think he's going to go there. Hopefully he does well. And then he moves forward to a better school. But as far as Colorado, they hired three. They've done what no other Power 5 school has done, which is hired 3 black coaches in a row. Before Deion, it was Mel Tucker. Mel Tucker went there in 2019. I don't know if anyone knows about college football, but he went there in 2019. He's a black coach. They went 5-7, which is not good. And then Mel Tucker went from there to Michigan State University, and now he got a $100 million contract. So it's like, I don't know, we got to give Deion some grace. And if you haven't been following him, then you're not going to understand his personal goal. His personal goal is always to go to a Power 5 school. And so, it's just, I don't know, to me, it's not surprising. I've always followed him, even since he was on the NFL Network. And so, I don't know about this whole, it was just for the money. But at the end of the day, if you know Deion, he's about his money. I don't think it was just for the money. I think it was the whole aspect of being at a Power 5 school. He has sons with him. So, he wants his son to get more national recognition. I mean, to me, whether if Jackson State gave him $5 million and Colorado was giving him $5 million, I think he would have still went to Colorado because he wants that national recognition. And, I don't know if Jackson State, first of all, HBCUs and the funding with HBCUs, that's a whole deeper topic as far as them not getting the funding from the government and stuff like that. That's like a whole other topic, and it's deeper than the eye can see. So it's like, if we're talking straight football, and we're talking about Deion himself, this is exactly what I knew was going to happen, and you can't really blame him for making the decision he made. So his whole mindset is just completely different. And so, I'll land there. I'm not going to go on a whole rant, but that's just my point of view of this whole thing.
All right. Appreciate you. I'll say this right here. Like I said, I've been watching Deion since I was 9, 10 when he hit his last year at Florida State, when he was a junior before he left to go to the NFL. First and foremost, and he is a competitor at the highest level. So I believe he did want to test himself at a higher level of football. But to me, first and foremost, Deion has always been about getting that bag. Deion's always been about that money. I mean, he's a showman. He's one of the greatest showmen in the history of sports. And Deion let you know, fresh out of Florida State, Jerry curl and gold chain and everything else on and shades and whatnot. Deion let you know, and he told you he was about that paper. He was about that money. And I don't think that's changed. And I think if he could have got $5 million from Jackson State, I believe that he may have stayed or whatever. I know you say you think he may have left, but I think if he could have got the $5 million from him, he may have stayed, and it would have been a great feel-good story and stuff like that. But the simple fact of the matter is that they can't pay him $5 million there. It's probably the hold up. I wonder if the entire salary of the entire football team, coach, all the coaches, assistant coaches, and everything is even $5 million. So that's very interesting. And like I say, I wish Deion the best. He did something that he felt he had to do for his family, whatever, for himself, and hopefully he'll be successful. And if he doesn't be successful, hopefully that he can come back to this level and get things cracking again. So it's gonna be interesting. I'll definitely be keeping my eyes out on him and see exactly how this thing progresses. Let me go ahead, and I'm gonna get back to my original speakers, but I'm gonna go ahead and fit you in here, Renza, because I see you're a new speaker tonight, and it's been a little minute since you've been up in the space as well too. So how you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm just waiting in line to speak. I appreciate all of you guys. Hats off to everybody here on this call. So, am I able to speak now, or am I in line to wait for others?
I'm going to go ahead because you're a new speaker, and we try to get the new speakers in as well too, and then we're going to get back to our regular people. But go ahead and unmute your mic.
Oh, okay, all right. Good evening, everybody. This is Lorenzo Jr. I am a national petitioner, and I'm also one of America's leading people when it comes to voting. I've created quite a repertoire for the hope of everybody to get involved in the whole political process. And I wanted to talk a little bit about your topic because I have something in common with Deion Sanders and Tuskegee. You see, I grew up in Tuskegee. I knew the people that were exposed to this experiment by the government. I hate the COVID-19 practice because, based on what I know and what I've seen, I have a different view in my opinion, is fake. I know I can't say that for everybody because I'll have to get in and explain the vaccine scenario and all of that. There's a documentary that's called Reset. If you watch that, it has a lot of the material that you guys could look into. I did post it in the chat, so if you guys look, you can see it. I hope that you get a chance to watch that video because the Tuskegee experiment ruined the lives of a lot of people. My grandparents were friends with the people that were exposed to what the government did. They tried to cover it up. And you guys got to remember, Tuskegee is in Macon County, which is in the east side of the state of Alabama near the Georgia border. It's between Montgomery and Atlanta. So if you're using an app like Google Earth, you can zoom in and look for Montgomery and Atlanta, and Tuskegee is pretty much dead in the middle. Auburn is just north of Tuskegee, War Eagle. And of course, Tuskegee is one of the most renowned, most outspoken, historically black colleges and universities in the history of anything. And I had the privilege to grow up there and hang out with my grandparents, my uncles, my aunts, my cousins, and we were friends with all of those people that lived in Newstoter, South Macon, Zion Hill. And I went to school in Greenwood, which is probably the prominent community in Tuskegee. I'm very grateful for having a rich childhood and a great heritage to follow. But I just want you guys to know that there's a little bit of a trust issue with a lot of people I grew up with in the government and the stuff that they've been doing. When they did these experiments on the elders in Tuskegee, not only did it create a dark cloud in a university that was making a name for itself as a normal and industrial institute, it taught us as kids that government doesn't always have the best solutions, and it was racially motivated because they didn't do this type of experiment on anybody that we know that was of a different race or ethnic group. It was always about experiment with black people. Now you guys got to remember too that this is also the hometown of the Commodores, the Seventh Wonder, the Tuskegee Airmen, and a host of other accomplishments. And so we always tried to seek the positive in everything that was happening in Tuskegee. But that experiment they tried to keep under closed wraps. We knew about it as kids, but we didn't know if everything in general was true from what we were hearing until President Clinton apologized to everybody. And that's what struck me because a lot of people have been trying to say that the whole situation was a lie, that we made it up. And then when Clinton did what he did, which was at the Tuskegee Chapel, I think they had that huge event, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, when President Clinton made the apology, that's when everybody realized that the government can play this double-edged sword. They can say they're for the people, but at the same time, they gave us the impression that at their discretion, they can be against the people. And I just wanted to let you guys know that because I am from Tuskegee, so I can make that type of assessment. The other thing I wanted to tell you about Deion Sanders is pretty much everything that's been said right now is correct. Deion Sanders is from Fort Myers, Florida. My grandfather is from Fort Myers, and I'm very familiar with what happens in Fort Myers on a day-to-day basis. I actually think I met Deion some time ago, but I know some of his friends and his mentors because they're my friends and my mentors too. So Deion's just trying, like the other person before me said, he's basically trying to find a place within range of him making somewhat of a bit of history, and I hope that he gets it. Don't get me wrong, I wish he could have stayed, but let's face it, these schools like the upper leagues, I'm just gonna say upper leagues, he would have a better opportunity to achieve a lot of stuff in college football. These smaller leagues like the SWAC and the SIAC, they would have to step up just a little bit and have rougher schedules to compete against the schools that we know like Notre Dame or Alabama or Auburn or Florida State or even Florida for that matter. So So I hope that everything goes well with him. I don't know a lot about Deshaun Watson, and I do apologize to the speaker and all the others. I can only speak on Deion Sanders and Tuskegee, that's my hometown. SKEGWEYY, Tuskegee, right? Back to you, Net Control, and the person who's hosting the program. Thanks for listening. Any questions?
No problem, man. And you can only speak on what you know. So there's no issue with that at all. And we appreciate you coming in and speaking. Great points that you made. Let me count. We got Ray. Ray, you next. Then we got Chase. We got Reed. We got Black Pressure. We got Mr. Engaging. We got Professor. And we got Brother Muko. And before we get to that, I got to touch up on the Deshaun Watson thing just so we can go ahead and get that out the way. So if anybody wants to speak after that, I'm going to go ahead. But I want to go ahead and touch up on that real quick so we got that topic, get this topic out the way. For those that don't know, Deshaun Watson is a football player, quarterback, and there's been a lot of drama going on with him coming back into the NFL. So I just want to go ahead and touch up on that real quick. Deshaun Watson says around 10 women, and I'm not even going to talk about it because he just started playing today. This is the first time in 2 years. I'm not even going to touch about his stats, his team winning this and that. He was rusty or whatever. I just want to go ahead and get to the actual point of why he was actually suspended. Around 10 women, around 10 of the women who accused Deshaun Watson of sexual misconduct expected to attend his Cleveland Browns debut versus Houston, attorney says. So like I said, Deshaun Watson, he is a big-time football player. He's been suspended, and I'm just going to touch up on that. This is from CNN, and it was also curated on the Newstoter.com platform. It's in the Jumbotron if you guys want to go ahead and click through or whatever and read it yourself. Let me touch up on it real quick. It says around 10 of the more than 24 women who accused Cleveland Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson of sexual misconduct were expected to attend his game in Houston on Sunday, according to their attorney. Watson returned to the field to a mix of boos and cheers Sunday for his first NFL regular season game in 2 years to play against his former team, the Houston Texans, after serving an 11-game suspension without pay following his sexual misconduct allegations. They thought it important to make clear that they're still here and they matter. I was proud of them for that. Tony Busby, the lawyer representing the accusers attending the game, told CNN in a statement. I have made that opportunity available to them. I haven't been to a Texan game in many years, but because they're going, I will go. Before his suspension, 24 civil lawsuits were filed on behalf of women alleging Watson sexually harassed or assaulted them during private massage appointments. During his time with the Houston Texans, Watson denied any wrongdoing in those cases, and 23 of the lawsuits were settled confidentially. 2 grand juries decided not to press charges or declined to charge Watson criminally. Less than 2 months after settling the lawsuits, a new civil lawsuit was filed by another woman in October alleging that Watson pressured her into sexual activity during a professional massage session. Despite the new lawsuit, the NFL said his status will remain unchanged. Watson has repeatedly denied the allegations against him and said he has no regrets about any of his actions. He spoke to the media for the first time Thursday since returning from suspension, declining to answer any non-football questions that were asked. I understand you guys have a lot of questions, but with my legal team and my clinical team, there's only football questions that I can address at this time, Watson told the reporters, adding that he was excited to be back with his team and thank those who stood by his side. I also want to thank the Browns organization, the ownership, my teammates in the locker room, and all the coaching staff for all the support they had in me, especially my time away, he said. Watson violated the NFL's personal conduct policy in private meetings with massage therapists while he was with the Houston Texans, according to the initial ruling by Sue L. Robinson, the judge jointly appointed by the NFL and the NFL Players Association to decide on Watson's punishment. Watson's pattern of conduct is more egregious than any before reviewed by the NFL, Robinson said in her ruling, adding that Watson's lack of express remorse was a factor in the discipline that she chose. So even though that he was never criminally charged and that he actually settled with 23 out of 24 women, he was suspended. He missed all of the 2021 season, or all of the 2020 season for personal issues or whatever. And plus this year he was suspended for 11 games. So he's basically been out for 2 years. He came back. And even though he settled with those women still came to the actual game, at least 10 of them. So he settled with 24 of them, and at least 10 of them came to the actual football game. So that's where we're at with this topic right here. I just want to go ahead and let go ahead and get back to it, I wanted to go ahead and put it out there. Deshaun Watson was a superstar quarterback from the Clemson Tigers, won a national championship there, high draft pick, Pro Bowl quarterback, big time quarterback, was considered a golden boy until a couple years ago when all this stuff started leaking about this and that, and supposedly doing these things in the actual and these massage incidents or whatever. Like I say, 2 grand juries decided not to press charges against him. So that's where we're at with that. And even though they decided not to press charges, he was never criminally charged. He was suspended by the NFL for 11 games without pay. Let me say that again, suspended 11 games without pay. So I'm gonna kick it. We got the real Dana in here. I'm gonna let real Dana go ahead and get her say in there. Like I said, she hasn't spoken. Then we're gonna get to the speakers again. Dana, how you doing tonight?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, because I thought it was probably a delay on my part. I'm good. How's everybody? Good conversation. I like your spaces.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And I like I said, y'all make sure y'all go ahead and subscribe to her YouTube channel. I need to put Newstoter YouTube channel. Dana, if I could ever catch the amount of subscribers you got, then I'll be doing pretty well, because I know your YouTube channel is blowing up. You and the judge, y'all definitely put in a lot of work. So definitely go ahead and subscribe to Dana's YouTube channel. If you get a chance, Dana, you can put it up in the Jumbotron as well too. But
yeah, I don't know how to put it in. How you do the Jumbotron?
Hey DJ, you there? If you have a link.
You gotta hello, Miss Dana. You gotta post to your wall, and then you share it. You click the little three prongs down at the bottom, and then you share it to DJ Space. It'll be a little microphone once you hit the little 3 prong. Yep. Okay. So just post it like a tweet. Post it like a tweet, like you're gonna do a regular tweet. Just kind of minimize the room, and then post it like a regular tweet, and then share it after you post it to the room. Okay, I'll try it when I drop down. But I just I wanted. Well, first let me start with Deshaun, since you was just talking about him. I think he did really well today playing football. So I mean, as far as that, I'm not going to say the women were lying, and I'm not going to say they were telling the truth, but he got himself in that mess because of his fetish of picking women up on Instagram for the purpose probably to solicit probably a sensual massage, because they were not licensed massage therapists. That's what the media is calling them, but they were not. So he did it to himself. I don't think he forced himself on these women, but they wanted a bigger bag. So if he was giving them $400 an hour, well, if I could get $100,000 saying that you sexually assaulted me, why not? But again, he was not looking for a professional massage therapy session. He wanted someone to touch him in his private parts areas or whatever he wanted. So he did that to himself, but I'm glad that's behind him, and he could just focus on football, and hopefully he learned his lesson and not repeat it. Deion Sanders, I just did a show today, and I just put in the title, is Deion Sanders a sellout for leaving Jackson State? And I say absolutely not. He came there, he did what he was supposed to do. He created a winning blueprint. He put them on the map. He helped young men become real men. He left them with great coaches that's going to pick up the mantle, and they're going to keep winning. And he said it in his 9-minute speech to the Jackson State team. He was very transparent. It's not about coaches either elevate or they terminate. So it's all about going to the next level. And what he's doing, at Colorado and beyond, he's always thinking about bringing Black people along in positions of power and positions of influence. But at least one of us have to be in those spaces to make spaces for others. And again, we don't know what happened with that front office at Jackson State. And a lot of people got to understand with universities, it's about a profit, right? And a lot of universities, whether it's HBCUs or private institutions, white private institutions, are very corrupt. And that does not excuse Jackson State. So I don't know why Black people think that we don't steal from each other or treat each other bad or try to cheat each other out of money. They do that. So HBCUs, certain ones do have a corrupt system when it comes to funding. And also Black people do not invest in their alumni. They barely invest in their community. So I don't, some people throughout social media want to say you're going to this white institution to make it white versus Black, and it's not that. It's us. Now, what that institution, that Jackson State do afterwards, that's up to them, right? But he gave you a blueprint that you did not have. It's a winning blueprint for you to elevate even higher. Is he going to leave them behind? Absolutely not. He's still going to have influence, but those young men who he's trained to be grown men, their job is to be mentors, to the youth and to elevate themselves as well. So I think what he's doing, is I don't see nothing wrong with it, and I wish him much success. And I'm looking forward to him winning, and I want to see him go against Nick Saban. I want him to get to that level and beat those type of teams. So, and that's what we need to be pushing for, and not on this, well, why didn't you stay? He doesn't have to stay. He's a grown man. He could do what he wants. That's his life. He doesn't owe anybody, anything. He did his job very well. And he invested in his occupation. So, and he's leaving a legacy. And as for Tuskegee experiment, again, going back to us, because us Black people, we need to take accountability. Tuskegee experiment took place on the Tuskegee University campus. Booker T. Washington approved that experiment to take place on that facility. That's why it's called Tuskegee, because it was done at the Tuskegee University, because they had a hospital. That university got funding for that quote unquote research, how they want to call it, but that experiment to take place on that university, because around Tuskegee University was a large Black community. So again, we opened up the door for them to come in and experiment on our own. And in exchange, yes, he got funding for that. So, it's like when we talk about white supremacy, which is something systemic, but if you keep going through life, well, white people did this and white this, white that, then you're going to have a problem, because you're going to miss the point, and you're just going to keep repeating the same thing of not progressing and moving forward. We really have to start taking accountability for our actions. And that's basically my conclusion with the 3 topics is accountability. Take accountability for yourself, for your community, and your family and your future. That's it.
All right, Dana, thank you. And I actually I put your actual YouTube channel. If you guys, it's the 4th one from the actual left. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4 over from the left. You can go to her actual YouTube channel. You can subscribe to her YouTube channel. She has Judge Joe Brown on there all the time. They have interesting topics. Also, I put the Newstoter YouTube channel up in there too as well, family. So I know some of y'all come up in the Newstoter spaces all the time, and y'all haven't subscribed to that newsletter, which is in the Jumbotron. They're on the far left as well too. So we need y'all to subscribe to the actual newsletter and the YouTube channel as well too. So we need to go ahead and start getting these YouTube numbers up as well too. So y'all go ahead and make sure y'all support. Also, the Cash App is in there as well too. Can't put out the content without actually having some people supporting us financially. And like I asked, if you have $1, just $1 that you can go ahead and spare, it's $ Newstoter. Once again, that's $ Newstoter. If you don't have $1 today, maybe you have $1 sometime this week or maybe next week. But if you do have $1, at least go ahead and try to go ahead and contribute to us. We're pushing out massive amounts of content, and we need that backing from our people. We talk about the new Black media all the time, but we put out content galore. And if you have not been to Newstoter.com, the largest Black-owned news curation platform today in America, please make sure you go ahead and visit. Lots of content. We will go ahead and we will hook you up with other Black-owned websites. bloggers, and everything else. So go ahead and make sure you take a visit there. We will keep you up to date with content. All of these topics that we're discussing tonight, all of them are on the Newstoter.com platform. So please go ahead and support Newstoter.com by visiting, by subscribing to the YouTube channel, by subscribing to the newsletter, and also by supporting us on Cash App if you can. If you have $1, go ahead and throw $1 our way. It is greatly appreciated. Let's go ahead and kick this thing. Now we're going to go back to Ray. Ray, I ain't heard from you tonight. I know you've been chilling as a co-host in all the way. I ain't heard from DJ either, so we got to get our co-hosts involved a little bit in this conversation. We're going to get back to our speakers as well, too. We're having a great conversation, great dialogue. Let's keep it going, y'all. Go ahead, Ray.
Hey, Tyler, real quick.
Yeah.
Before you go away, I ate one of these famous Jersey sandwiches. I just caught the itis and dozed off for like most of the show. Somebody call me, yo. I'm saying,
What?
all right, man. Alabama ain't in the playoffs. It's over.
Oh, Lord.
Hey, Ray, go Bulldogs, dog.
Oh, my Lord.
Don't get me started, DJ. You already know how I am with Bulldog. But I'm gonna start off this way. So I've been seeing a lot of people calling Deion Sanders a sellout. And the brother, his name is Torian Walker, he actually made a good point. He said for everyone that's calling Deion a seller, you need to post a picture of your employer. Yeah, so he actually got a good point on that. But I'm not mad at the brother. I really want to see him do great things. And one thing that really kind of been brought up a little bit, but I want to touch great things that Deion has done. So his salary.
You there, Ray? You kind of breaking up some. Yeah, Ray, I think you may be caught up in the Matrix as well, too. Ray, can you hear me? Yeah, I think the Matrix might have caught Ray. Ray will be back, though.
Just let me say this real quick, just to keep the talking points in the room. So, yeah, Deion, I respect it. I'm a capitalist. Yeah, go and get that money. It is what it is. I think he did his job 11-0. Brought whatever little recognition he could. He probably did more, like, some folks said for Jackson State and, just the HBCU branding in general. And within this last year or two, he's been a coach versus, like you said, like Dana said, all these alma maters and alums that have graduated from these HBCUs and work at these WPI institutions and don't even go back to the HBCU to break bread. So it's like, why be mad at Deion for that? And then, like you said, Tyler, Deion a flashy dude. He's been like that his whole life. That's why his name Prime Time. You feel me? Deshaun Watson, obviously, all the racist white folks always got something to say, as far as surrounding the particular situation. So, if y'all watch the game, boo, the whole time he was on the field, boo, 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 boo. Like, come on, man. Y'all ain't got this much disdain for people like, Brett Favre and all these other jokers that be beating on their women that are other demographic and come back into the league. So it's like, why Deshaun getting all the smoke? And plus, he was found not guilty by a jury of his peers twice. So he ain't guilty. So why they still mad? You know what I mean? And then the Tuskegee thing, you already know, man, don't let these jokers into our community. Black State of America, we need to exit those off these WPIs and not yield them.
Real talk, real talk. I'm sure Ray, he'll come back up here when he gets a chance. He's disconnecting, so let's go ahead and Chase. I know you've been waiting patiently. Go ahead and unmute your mic, Chase. Who had their hands up before you? Okay. We'll go ahead and kick it to my sister, Ree. Go ahead and unmute your mic, sister.
Hey, guys. So I'm just going to, I was actually, I have remembered the Deshaun Watson case, but it's been so long. And listening to Dana, I was thinking to myself, well, I guess if you are in a situation where you're putting yourself in a situation to be cut off with these women, then yes, there is a level of accountability that, you got to take. But at the same time, I will say that Ben Roethlisberger and all these other athletes that have committed sexual indiscretions or crimes per se were able to stay in the league while their cases were being investigated. And so I really think that we tend to hold ourselves at this moral standard, which I'm not saying is wrong, but we hold ourselves to a moral standard to the point where we need to be excellent in one area and we're great and praised for those things. But then for the areas where people who have issues, people want to see it as kind of like a black and white thing and somehow leave it up to interpretation, right? And so I guess that's where I'm going to have to stand is that if Deshaun Watson, is back in the league, hopefully he is back in the league, and him himself has done self-edification and reflection. At the end of the day, I will say, if you're in the NFL or in the NBA and you believe that your freedom is the money that you have or the contracts that you have, gives you the freedom to behave the same way that the other societies, people of different ethnicities behave in the NFL or any of these other elite areas, you're sadly mistaken. There's always going to be a difference because of the fact that you are a Black American. The other thing is the Tuskegee experiment. Yes, it was held at the Tuskegee Medical Institute. I want to say that money has always been a factor when it comes to our community because we've never gotten our repair. And then you already know me, Newstoter. I'm for reparations. I'm for the redress in all aspects. That is even dealing with medical apartheid. What the CDC director did and what she said was horrible. It's the same. It's along the same lines of when Nancy Pelosi made the comment about George Floyd at a press conference with the Black Caucus standing behind her, and she said, "Thank you, George Floyd, for sacrificing your life." We don't get the opportunity to decide and choose how we get to show up in death or in life. We have to fight for those things. So when people who are in positions of power or are at top levels in professions make insensitive comments, racial insensitive comments without any background history behind those comments, or sometimes they don't even have to make the comments. They can step aside and allow someone from our community actually make the comments because they have a common experience. But yet people from these communities make these comments in these professions, and somehow it turns into we also too have to take accountability. I'm not disagreeing with that, but they have to take accountability also because medical apartheid is real. And people in those higher professions do have influence over communities who are suffering in oppression. So to make an insensitive comment that is so ugly and that actually hurts the people who actually went through that issue and didn't even receive a full just due. $9 million was nothing. That's nothing back then compared to what they still should be getting and their descendants should be getting, because that experiment actually affected the genetics of the children, and some of those men weren't even able to have children. So I want to say that I think that we owe it to ourselves to give grace and hold ourselves accountable, but we also need to make sure that we hold them accountable more than we are looking to make ourselves to be so excellent in certain areas when we know that there are contributing factors that keep us literally in harm's way. So I definitely hope that we had this discussion last night, that we do get on the train of in regards to when we see things like the director from the CDC making comments like that we do file a class action lawsuit or a defamation lawsuit, because we too need to be about our money. we too need to be about our redress and our repair, and we cannot do that if we do not fight for what is owed. So that's how I feel about that. And thanks for letting me speak.
No problem. As always, definitely enjoy hearing you. Chase, are you ready to go now?
Yeah. Okay. Be quiet, sweetheart. Are we going to address the fact that these HBCUs aren't really black institutions anymore? I mean, because I could look at Morehouse right down the street from my house. They might, the dean of admissions for the medical school for Morehouse is an African chick. When I asked what was the breakdown of the population there, and they say that they have 96% of black students there, but she wouldn't identify whether they were African or if they were of American descendants of slaves. So are these HBCUs, are they black?
You make a valid point there. You have a lot of whites at the HBCUs. You have a lot of non-black Americans at the HBCUs. You have a lot of Hispanics now. So yeah, you make a good point there.
Yeah, so I mean, we're going to talk about historical black colleges. Let's start talking about why aren't the black population in those schools heavy like that anymore? Or are they giving out that money to other groups of people? I'm asking for a friend.
Very valid point, because they do get money to go ahead and to diversify at these HBCUs as well too. So, and we had a space on that a couple months ago. We was talking about the actual demographics at these HBCUs. We had a space a couple months ago. Can't exactly remember when, but that was an issue that we were talking about as well too. The actual percentages and stuff at the actual HBCUs is definitely and some of these HBCUs, you're right. I mean, you can make a case that it's almost that actually the black Americans, descendants of the slaves, that at some of these HBCUs, we might be hitting like the 50% mark as well too. So yeah, I mean, you're making up a good point there, Chase. Let me go ahead and kick it to you, Black Pressure. Black Pressure, you got it. Go ahead and unmute your mic.
Yeah, I just was going to bring up about the Tuskegee experiment. I know we can't do anything about it now, but just for the future moving forward, we've had the Tuskegee experiment. You can bring up the Philadelphia prison experiment. You can bring up Operation Big Itch. You can bring up the Indiana radiation experiments. You can bring up the MMR vaccines and what they did to adolescent black children. Just, saying that to say, moving forward, let's really quit trusting the vaccines, in America, period. If you're black, I didn't take the COVID vaccine, but, I'm saying all this for a reason. Me and my father got into it, and he was trying to tell me, say, hey, did you take the COVID vaccine? I said, man, I'm not taking that shit. I didn't curse in front of my father, so I'm not taking that. And he was like, oh, you want to die? You see, you want to, I said, Dad, I said, look, I the same list I ran down to y'all, I ran down to him. And the first thing my father said, and of course he was born in the civil rights generation. He's a part of that generation. He said, well, there was a black woman that led on creating the vaccine. And I told him, I said, hey, that sounds good. I said, there was a black woman that was the head nurse of the Tuskegee experiment. I said, how did that work out for us? So just kind of, warning the black family, if we don't have enough examples of not to trust, the American medical industry, how much more do we need? And I just want to touch on that, Tuskegee, and I'll land my plane.
All right, brother. Let me go ahead and move it around the room. Let me get back to Mr. Engaging. Mr. Engaging, are you still? I know your hand's not up anymore. Do you want to speak still?
Yes, I do.
Okay, go ahead. That's you, Mr. Engaging, because I can't hear you.
That was Mr. Thigpen. Mr. Engagement said he's eating.
Oh, okay. So we'll go ahead. Let me get back. I'm gonna get to you, Renzo, but we got a couple people ahead of you. Let me get to Professor, then Brother McCoo, and then I got you.
Thank you again for bringing me back on Newstoter to speak. Just want to say, and Dana, I've been in some of Dana's spaces, and she holds some great spaces with Judge Brown. So definitely got to give some love to her. But I did want to touch on what she was speaking about with the whole accountability. All three of these issues that you have up there, Newstoter, there is some accountability to be given by us, that's for sure. And Deshaun Watson and Deion, everybody has some accountability, right? But let's look at the system. The system has more accountability because guess what? The system always plays on us and tries to highlight things to make sure that we are vilified. Okay? That's what the system does to us, Dana. It vilifies our issues more. It highlights it more. Whereas white people can go out there and do that same issue and it doesn't get vilified. Okay? It's almost it. You know, I think Sister Villa brought up the whole Ben Roethlisberger situation where he assaulted women in the NFL, and guess what?
Any college.
Yeah, any college. Yes, and he was not vilified. See, this is what we're talking about, Dana. That's accountability that the system needs to be doing. See, if we're gonna talk about accountability, the system needs accountability for the things that it has been doing for years to us, to vilify us for humanity, because we all are flawed human beings. So why does one group have to be highlighted versus the other group, right? So you're going to vilify us like we just the monsters that create rape or assault, or we the ones that's anti-Semitic? I mean, come on. We know this is not true, but this is how white media has tried to portray us. So when you talk about this accountability, that's what you need to be talking about, Dana. That's is the issue in this country: hypocrisy, American hypocrisy. When you hold another space, Dana, I want you to hold that space: American hypocrisy. How that vilifies Black America. I land my plane there.
Well, I would like to respond to it.
Go ahead and respond.
Yeah, because I'm not going to address accountability. I mean, but if you come on my space, you could definitely comment, and then it could blossom from there. But hypocrisy is all over. That's in every country. It's not just in the United States. And let's just be realistic here, because you go to any other country in this world, they practice hypocrisy. So there are people in other countries who are at the bottom caste, just like Black America is here. Where I'm coming from is, what if a system is constantly trying to vilify you, paint you in a certain way, and this is 2023. I'm not talking about historically. In 2023 today, with everything that has happened, right? People who have sacrificed, Black Americans who have sacrificed their lives, their livelihood, their income for the sake of us to counter all the vilification that's been happening. Why is it today in 2023 we don't have community? We don't take accountability. See, Black people then did. We dropped the ball to where we're not taking accountability now to progress. We should be way further along than we are today. So, of course, when we talk about systemic racism, still exists here in America, not just in other countries, but it exists here.
Hey, Sister Dan.
Huh?
Never mind. I was going to ask Black Fresh. Mute his mic. He'll always get feedback. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Sorry. But so we're always going to be. We've always been vilified here. Where I'm coming from is, we know that's happening. We know it's continued to happen. So instead of complaining about it, or instead of saying that is what's happening, let me see a blueprint, an action plan today, not of yesterday. Because we're not even using it. It has to be evolved, because we have all this technology. We are way more freer today than we were in 1960. So yes, they want to vilify us, and a lot of times we give them the ammunition too. Because when you look at the music, when you look at how people are dressing or whatever and behaving, we give them that. But at the same time, what is our blueprint to elevate ourselves? Because if we don't start changing and working together, especially economically, we're going to continue to be the bottom caste here, because you have a lot of different groups that come into this country, whether legally or illegally, that are working together, and that's going to surpass us. So if we don't start understanding what do we have to do together economically to pull our resources together and to move forward, then we're just going to be always at the bottom caste. So then what? We still want to blame the system? The system is the system. First of all, how about we learn the system and counter the system to fight against it so that we could gain progress within our group? We don't know how to work together. So that's when I give the accountability. But as far as you giving examples of other white players and they get, less punishment than the black players, of course, that's nothing new. You look at the criminal justice system. But again, what are we doing collectively to move our group, our race forward? There's no blueprint for that. And if it is, we're not executing it. That's it.
All right, sister, I appreciate you, Dana. Let's go ahead and we're gonna go ahead and get Original. I see you up in the spot as well. Ray, I see you came back. So you was having issues with your mic. So go ahead. You there, Ray?
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear us?
What is going on with these spaces, man? It keeps kicking me out left and right and having all these other problems. But yeah, I'm here, family. I don't know what happened last time. I just got kicked down the middle of the
Wi-Fi, bro. Get on the Wi-Fi. You close all up.
You need to clear the cache from the app. What's going to happen is you're going to have to go to your settings and clear the cache. And then from there, you might have to check to see if there's updates that need to be pushed to the app. And if not, then uninstall it and then reinstall it.
Okay, I'll try all of that. I don't know how to clear the cache, but I can do everything else.
It's in settings under, you just click on settings. There's an hourglass. Anything you want to do on your phone, there's an hourglass. And you just.
You talking about like Android?
Android? It's either don't matter. Settings for Android or iPhone. You go to the settings. There's an hourglass or search bar. Type in whatever you want to do on your phone. So you want to clear your cache on your phone. You're going to type memory, and in that you want to look for where it says either app memory, or just hit me up in the background, or DJ, because we'll help you.
Nah, you got a teacher's assistant. You got a teacher's assistant. I see you learning. I'm trying my best.
No, teacher's assistant. I listen. I keep quiet. Okay, I'm a tech too. I'm a techie, but I keep my I can't let the left hand know what the right hand is doing.
I'm gonna just say this really quick before I get kicked out of space again. I was talking about the brother, what was his name, Torian Walker, and he was talking about Deion Sanders. I've been trying to get on since we saw the original talking about Deion. And basically, he put out a tweet that says something to the notion of all the people that are calling Deion Sanders, a traitor to black people and everything else. Basically, let's see your salary. Let's see your employer, rather. I really hope the brother does great things. I really does. But something that really hasn't been highlighted is all the great that he's done for Jackson State. So I definitely want to make sure that's said.
But Ray, can I ask you a question though?
Yes.
With comments like that, and I saw the other comment that Miss T made, and look, I'm not coming after nobody. You can make whatever comments you want. Y'all grown. But with comments like that, that does not progress the conversation. That's the part that I do agree with Dana. If we're going to have this conversation and talk about all the things that we need, we can pinpoint that needs to be done better or what could have been done differently. Saying to on a stage or a platform, let me see your employer, when literally we are in a position where most people have an employer, and shout out to you if you have a job. But at the end of the day, if you are not creating the space for the employer to be a black employer or a space for us to build, so you can create multiple generations of people to actually become self-sufficient, then why does it matter if the employer is white at this point when we haven't made any identifications of the employers being African American, American freedmen, or black? So to me, it's like hitting below the belt. Like you're saying, well, he's moving to Colorado State, but let me see your player. I remember Torin talking about how people did him, and he had struggles, which is why he had to start his platform. So at the end of the day, it goes back to me saying those type of points don't matter. It don't matter if I didn't hold a season ticket in an HBCU. HBCUs still have influence in the community. HBCUs still have money that needs to be put into the schools, and the federal government owes that money. HBCUs also helps a lot. The economy of an HBCU in the city or that it's in? Like I'm here, I'm near Howard, right? And all the stuff that's been happening with Howard. Now, the school, the people who were in the school prior to people finding out about the housing and how deplorable it is in that regard, people had stole money prior to that. So we talk about Jacksonville, but nobody talks about the money that was stolen at Howard. And those people were Black who did that. Not American. I believe some of them were foreign. But at the end of the day, my point is that employer comment, it has no bearing right now because we're in a position where people need funds, money. That's why we're fighting for reparations. We're fighting for redress, trying to figure out how to get people into office so that they are not just Black faces in high places. To Dana's point again, where's the blueprint? The blueprint has always been written. We're not implementing it. We're really not. We talked about that last night. There was a generation that was tired and that they didn't get a chance to do those things. And we're trying to, again, recombat supremacy. Folks want to burn everything down that we create. So I'm not going after Deion based on him wanting to go to a white school. I'm saying the way he came into the HBCU and developed that culture, I'm hoping that the community and the next coaches that they bring in, they prop them up the way they did Deion so that they can start moving people around and getting people into those positions. That means high school coaches get to be college coaches. They get to groom other kids or people who played the game to become coaches in high school and start developing a centrifugal force in the community. So you don't get mad if another coach goes to a PWI. And then Newstoter mentioned how they're not even in a lot of the division leagues to compete. So that's another point. So I'm just going to get off my soapbox, but I'm just saying we could actually go round and round in circles. There's a lot of work for all of us, for us to get done, period.
Okay, sister, real quick, I'm going to go ahead and kick it around the room because I want to get everybody get a chance to actually speak. Original, who said something?
Yeah, because I didn't get to
like
2 words and I let the sister come in. May I go ahead and finish what I was going to say?
Go ahead, real quick.
No, you good. I was going to say, I saw that brother's quote, Torian Walker. He says, everyone that's calling Deion a sellout posts a picture of an employer. I kind of agree with it. I kind of don't. That was the point that I was going to make. But I also definitely want to point out all the good that this brother has done because I don't think a lot of it is being said. Prior to Deion coming in his reign, they can't even practice. He got them 2 practice fields, new locker rooms, new football facilities. He got them new training facilities. He ushered in 10-year TV deal rights with 8 HBCUs and for other HBCUs, $30 million direct economic impact to the city of Jacksonville. He brought awareness to the city of Jacksonville, obviously, where I was going through the whole water crisis, with that whole water crisis going on. He's gotten them out of terrible business deals, showing them how to conduct business and things, and how to produce based on a large scale. So the brother's done a lot of good stuff. So I definitely want to, highlight the fact that in 3 seasons, he went 26-5, won back-to-back conference championships. Newstoter, he talked about Travis Hunter, getting him to come over and play with him, won the 2021 Eddie Robinson Award, and he won 11 on the regular season. That was the first time. So the brother's doing a lot of good things. And I want to say is he took the job to Colorado, and I really hope he goes and does great things. I hope he opens the door for more Black coaches. That is the point that I wanted to make. I hope he opens the door for more Black coaches because, like I said, college football is 80-90% Black, probably, players on the field. Give these coaches a chance that are really good. That's really the point I was gonna really make. But at the same time, like I said, a lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't know that Deion donated half his salary that he made from Jackson State. He donated it. He was making $1.2 million over 4 years, which is roughly about $300K per year. And he gave, like I said, half of that away to improve the facility. And chance to go from a job making $300,000 a year to making $5 million a year, I would more than likely take it myself. If I'm just gonna be honest, like what Uncle Elroy saying in that movie, he's like, yeah, I was the one saying, I was gonna stay in the hood. I love the ghetto. As soon as I got my check, I was gone. And I hope that brother takes his money. Really great black coaches, and I hope he's able to compete with the Nick Sabans. I want to see him be great. I want to see him bring the other black people up, and I land there.
No Alabama in this shit. It's over.
I think I want to see him beat with him,
Facts.
Well, real quick, y'all, I want to go ahead because Original, he's actually Mr. Engage, and I'm gonna go Mr. Engage, and then I'm gonna go to Original because Original hasn't had a chance to speak. I also want to give Mr. Engage a shout out. Thank you for your contribution on Cash App. Definitely appreciate it, brother. I'm gonna go Mr. Engaging, Original. Then we're gonna get Brother McCool, RZA, Black Pressure, Professor. I see you got your hand back up as well too. So we're gonna go ahead and let's go ahead. So we want to go ahead and get everybody up in here, give everybody a chance to actually speak. What's that?
It was an error, man. I didn't mean to put my hand up.
Oh, okay. No problem, Professor. Let me go ahead and get the Mr. Engaging. I'm gonna get Original. We're gonna get you in here, RZA as well too. Brother McCool, we're gonna get you in here as well too. So, Mr. Engaging, go ahead and unmute your mic.
All right. I noticed that I'm gonna bring another element to the conversation. It's more like the element of what is the campus makeup. When I go up into when I Googled it and looked it up, basically long and short of it, they only have 2.6 African American percentage when it is represented on that campus. So, I really think that he's bringing young black men to a racially hostile environment. And I think that's something that versus the nurturing environment of an HBCU. It is something that, just making an observation, I find that very kind of disheartening a little bit. And I really think that it is something that we should just look at. Just like when we sending our children out to these campuses, how are they going to be getting the same resources and equity and other things of that nature, and they're not really being represented, and they're not really being even when they have agendas put on the forescope, so on their agenda. So I just find it disheartening that he could have, for him not to stay up, for him to stay at the HBCU. I would like to see that, but it's just sad.
All right, brother. Appreciate that, Mr. Engaging. Let me give us. Somebody got a hot mic.
Yeah, that's me. I'm sorry about that, but the whole United States is a hostile environment. Well,
Chase,
pick a lane.
Chase, I'm gonna get to you real quick. Let me get around the room. I'm gonna get to you as well too. Let me give a shout out to Nisha for her contribution on Cash App as well too.
What I mean is that we always keep on getting taken advantage of in our institutions, and this was an opportunity economically that we could have empowered ourselves and move to a different direction. That's all I was more or less getting at, and it's very disappointing that, just like the Negro Leagues, they take our best and they put them in these white institutions and they capitalize off these people's talents. And at the end, we have to deal with the car wreck at the end of them having mental problems for PSD, other things. So it's very upsetting. That's what I mean.
All right, brother. Appreciate you. We're gonna move it around the room. Let's go ahead and get to Original. Original, go ahead and mute your mic. And like I say, I don't know if you heard me, but Tanisha, thank you for your contribution on Cash App as well, too, sister. Go ahead, Original.
Hey, greeting everybody. Peace, Black Power, and reparation. Newstoter, can you fill me in on the issue about the Tuskegee experiment, a lie?
Oh, okay. that was basically, you had this sister. You had I don't know why I called her a sister, but you know my bad. I saw Miss engaging the face he made, but you had this white lady, the head of the CDC, sitting up here and basically was saying that, you know, thanking black people for volunteering their sacrifice to the Tuskegee experiment, not, you know, downplaying actually it was a government conspiracy that resulted in many black men dying because they withheld this medicine, and you had black babies born with this and black women that got infected and stuff like that. So she set up on Twitter, she ended up getting dragged. Basically she was sitting up here basically saying, well, thank you for your selfless sacrifice and this and that, and everybody's like, whoa, wait a minute, like, you talking about one of the most underhanded medical experiments in the history of this country. There was, I mean, this wasn't no sacrifice. I mean, they were, I guess you could say they were a sacrificial lamb, but that's about all it was. So yeah, that's pretty much what it was about. Original. She sat up here and she tried to downplay it, and it made it seem like these black men went along with it and this and that. It was just nonsense, pretty much.
I think what it is, they're trying to see if we are awake and if we are paying attention. And one of the things I want to say is that now Booker T was dead when the Tuskegee experiment started. However, I do believe that he would have participated in it because there is a doctoral thesis by this sister. Her name is Chantella Sherman, and her doctoral thesis is In Search of Purity, Popular Eugenics and Racial Uplift Amongst New Negroes from 1915 to 1935. And so with that said, it was Booker T was involved in this, Mary McLeod Bethune, who else, Du Bois, and I'm trying to think of who else was involved in it. But they were taking their cues from these low-down white people and trying to say that poor black people should not procreate. Yeah, I mean, this stuff is crazy. When you begin to read some of this stuff, I have to stop sometimes because it drives me crazy. But the guy who was president of Tuskegee when that experiment started was Robert Moulton. He took over after Booker T died in 1915, and the experiment started. I think the experiment started in 1932, and it's the CDC itself, when it started, it was a military operation, and so. And I find it interesting that you have people like, these so-called talented 10, whereby they want to try to steer us towards operating like white people. There is a book, I think it's called the Intellectual Warfare. I think it's Jacob Carruthers, whereby he had a chapter in that book on what's his name? I can't stand him. Cornel West. And what he said that Cornel West was trying to, Cornel was saying stuff like black people didn't have a culture. I mean, it's just insane. And he was trying to pattern us after this, Calvinism. It's some old stink white boy developed some religious principle, so-called religious principle, and he was saying that we should live by that. So I find it interesting that a lot of these people that we see on TV and here in any kind of media, they are primarily agents for the beast. I'll say it that way because they don't have our best interests at heart because they've already been given their talking points and they've been given a platform of what they should push to us. Because as I think I mentioned this before, see, in 1991, we caught people in LA. These are the people that was involved. It was UCLA, Kaiser Permanente, the CDC, and then the LA County Department of Health. They experimented on black babies using this Edmondson-Sagrave high-titer measles vaccine. And when a baby gets a measles vaccine, they have to be at least 6 months to a year old, because if you give it before that, it could either kill the child or it could damage them, for life. One of the babies died, and a number of the babies, they suffered from neurological issues. And so what happened is the community pushed to get these people prosecuted. because everybody was angry. But unfortunately, some of the babies, their socioeconomic level was, low. So when the people started tapping them on the shoulders, they offered them a payout, and they took it. And see, you can only fight for so long. You can only fight for so long if you're not the guardian of that child. And so those parents took a payout versus, really see when they really could have got a payout and they could have got justice too. But they chose, unfortunately, a lot of times these people, they take payouts instead. And so I just want to share that because, and also too, the CDC, I sent you a message, DJ, if you can post it. I can't get in the Jumbotron. And then that came out, you had this guy named David Satcher. He's Coon. He was Coon CD at CDC. He came out saying, "Oh no, this wasn't. This didn't happen." They always found a black face to put out there. He's like jet black with gray beard and everything. It was awful. And the saddest part about it is that justice, if there had been one parent who was willing to go forward and prosecute them, because see, nobody went to jail in this. Not one of these people went to jail. UCLA lost some of their grant funding for a minute, and they called that. I guess they're calling that justice because when this whole thing with this COVID crap started, and people at my job was asking me, said, "Well, are you getting the vaccine?" I said, "No." They said, "Well, why?" I said, "Look, black people have a negative history when it comes to experiments and vaccines and things in this country." And they were like, "Well, you can trust it." Well, we have to trust the science. I said, "Yeah, but y'all science is dysfunctional, and it doesn't work well for black people. So no, I'm not taking it." And so they looked at me sideways, but these were white folks. And one of them said, when I cited the LA measles experiment, one of the people said, "Oh yeah, I remember that." And see, here's the issue with that. See, after Tuskegee was exposed, they started this organization called the Institutional Review Board, whereby it was stated these are the bylaws, the law you're supposed to follow when you're doing human subject testing. You have to tell them up front. You have to tell either the person or if it's a child, the parent or guardian has to know exactly what's going on with this study. And they didn't do that in LA at UCLA when they engaged these families to put their children in this measles vaccine. And what was so dangerous about it is that they had used that same vaccine in Africa and other, for lack of a better phrase, third world countries, and they obtained the same results. Children died because they gave them that measles shot when they wasn't supposed to. At an age that it wasn't conducive for them to receive. And some of these children died or they was damaged neurologically for the rest of their life. So we have it's like people don't believe, nobody wants to believe us. And I think that what they're trying to do now is that I think they're trying, as we know, this is why it's very important to document as much as you can and pass this documentation down to someone who is trustworthy in your family. Or if there can't be someone in your family, pass it down to someone that's coming up behind you who you know you can trust. Because we have to make sure that these people don't try to rewrite history and say that these people volunteer. These people didn't volunteer for that Tuskegee experiment. They just came in there, paid those folks a little bit of money, and they went on and did what they wanted to do. And this is why they can't. This is one of the reasons why they have issues when those of us in the community, we will stand up and chastise them and say, you're not doing that over here today. You can take that back to your own community. But I just want to share that because I think a lot of people, they tend to forget sometimes that people like, and let me give you, it's kind of like not related, but it's related. Like Henry Gates. Someone has shared with me that said, "Man, you need to watch this thing. He did something on African Americans or whatever, blah, blah, blah." They said, "Oh, man, this is good. You got to watch it. You got to watch it." So one Saturday morning, I was home and I watched it. And he was in South Carolina. And he was talking about this Brown Fellowship Society. And see, what happened is, but he was talking about this guy named, I don't know if he mentioned William Penn, but he painted this Brown Fellowship Society, and they were just these so benevolent people. But see, one of the people in that Brown Fellowship Society, it was like the paper bag test in South Carolina. His name was William Penn. And William Penn, what he did was, he told, or he had someone to go and tell their enslaver that our people was planning an uprising, and they crushed the uprising. He didn't tell about that. Just like he tried to cover up when Ben Affleck, it was showed that his people owned slaves, and Ben said he wouldn't participate if Henry put that out there. Now that came out, and Henry still has his job. What does that say? Henry, just like Cornell, they're agents. They're agents for the beast. And I don't care who likes them and say that, oh, you're wrong. No, they're agents for the beast. So I just want people to know. that you know, this is this experimenting thing is serious. That's why I don't even like. I try to do things myself. I don't like going to the doctor because I don't trust it. I have no trust in this medical system whatsoever. But I just want to share that because these people, they're going to continue, but we have to make sure that we are doing excellent documentation and that we are giving people the right information so that this doesn't happen decades after we're gone. And I'll land with that.
And we need to file our civil suits. Okay.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you're right, Ella. File the suits.
All righty. Let me go ahead real quick and move to Brother Makud, and I'm gonna get to Ariza, and we're gonna keep it moving. So let's go ahead and get to Brother Makud. Go ahead and unmute your mic.
Hey, wow. Original definitely always dropping that fire. He said a lot of what I was gonna say. You know, we gotta get our information right when we start talking about our ancestors being held accountable, or us being held accountable like we are some professionals about how racism, white supremacy works. I think black people, non-white people, the same thing. I think we need to rethink and understand that we are not the professionals. We do not understand what racism is and how it works. If we did, the system would not be in existence today.
Brother Makud, Brother Makud, not to cut you off real quick. I just got to give a shout out. Wayne always comes in here. He never says anything. This brother never says anything. He never requests a mic, but he always, when he comes into space, he always donates the Newstoter. So I just have to go ahead and just give Wayne just major props. Like, this brother never requests a mic. He never says anything. He never asks to speak. He just hollers at me in the DM or whatever, and he just comes in there and he never says it. He's never been in a Newstoter space, and I don't think Wayne's ever asked to get the microphone, but he just always supports the platform. And I just want to say thank you so much, Wayne. Like, you, Brother McCool, and some of the rest of you in here, Professor Original, y'all just, Mr. Engaging, and y'all just, I just want to go ahead and just give this brother his due right here. This brother, and Brother McCool, I'm sorry I interrupted your train of thought, but this brother, he has never, ever, all the time he's been in Newstoter space, this brother has never requested the mic. He has never raised his hand or anything, and he doesn't even stay in the spaces all the time. He comes in, he may stay in for 10, 15 minutes, and he donates, and he's up. Brother, much love to you. Yeah, much love to this brother. Yeah, that's Zeb. Hey, that's everybody. Professor said that's got to be Zeb.
That's our favorite troll. I'm sorry, Zeb. I didn't mean to call you a troll. You know, I just had to.
Hey, real quick, cause let me let Brother McCoo go ahead and cook, because I just had to get Wayne. Wayne just comes in and does this all the time, so I just had to go ahead and give his brother his due. But go ahead, Brother McCoo.
Yeah, definitely appreciate you, Wayne, and everybody else that gives the Newstoter. But back to what I was saying, you know, we are not the professionals of what racism, white supremacy is. And I think on a collective and individually, we forget that a lot because we're going through it. You know, I've been living on this earth 40 plus years. I'm still learning, and I do not know the ins and outs of what racism, white supremacy is. But what we do need to realize is that the white people that invented this shit, they know the ins and outs, the backdoor traps. They know how to do it. Okay? So we need to stop acting like we so much professionals about our victimization, because we're not. If we were, it wouldn't be in existence. We wouldn't be having these spaces today. You know what I'm saying? The Tuskegee experiment was some shit, some medical apartheid that was done wrong to our ancestors. And sis Dana, I follow you. And I listen to her spaces. I love her spaces. Shout out to this sister. But I have to say, the medical apartheid is still going on to this day. I'm a 48-year-old man. I do not trust the hospital. I just had a child in the hospital, and I was on their back because they sneaky. And they tried. Their agenda is to kill us by any means. That means they'll lie to you. They'll tell you some shit is good and it's not good, and it's up to you to research it. That's not holding me accountable. That's me doing the research in a system that's designed to kill me. Okay?
That's called accountability when you do research.
Hold up. Listen. I'm not finished. But hold up.
Okay, real quick, y'all. Just go ahead and let the brother cook, and then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna let everybody get a chance to go ahead and say what they got to. So let's just go ahead, because that stops the flow of the conversation. So let's go ahead and let the brother go ahead and cook. Go ahead, Brother McCoo. You got it, Brother McCoo.
Oh, okay. So when we talk about holding people accountable, we have to hold that same accountability to the white supremacists that's been killing us for decades. Not just us, generations before us, our ancestors. Okay, this hasn't been going on for some 20, 30 years. No, I was born into this just like you were. But the last thing we need to do is to be arguing with each other about some other non-white person holding themselves or keeping themselves accountable for some shit that was already done to us over again without any repair. Okay? We have to get rid of this system. Before we even get into a debate between victims, we need to get rid of this system. Because when we're getting in debates and arguing at each other about, and this is not an argument, I'm glad, but when we're going back and forth with each other about us holding ourselves accountable, and, well, you got this money, bro, we all being victimized. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no argument supposed to be going on until this system of racism, white supremacy is eliminated. Because as long as we're arguing with each other, we are not fighting white supremacy. And that you're guilty and I'm guilty when we're doing that. We're both guilty because we're saying, fuck the ancestors. We rather argue on some petty shit instead of eliminating the system that eliminated our ancestors and that's eliminating us now. I mean, come on, there's 13 million babies, black babies, that's being aborted before they even get through the goddamn vaginal canal. And you gonna say we gotta hold ourselves accountable? What about them goddamn babies that's being aborted? So we gotta look at this from every angle. You know what I'm saying? And the most things we gotta do is stop arguing with each other, because this is not a debate. Repair is needed. I need repair. My mother need repair. My grandfather and my grandmother need repair. Everybody needs repairs, because this is generations of a mutation of abuse. Okay, we're not even at the regular level of abuse. We're at a mutated level.
Let's just call it American apartheid, and then we can move on, right?
Yeah, real quick, y'all, because I want to go ahead. I want to go ahead and get to some other speakers as well too. So let's go.
I respond because he actually did call me out, so I would like to just.
No, I wasn't calling anybody out. I was saying that I followed.
You were commented on what I said, so I'm not saying calling me out in a negative way, but I don't disagree with you saying this is a racist system, but in the same breath you said we need to get rid of the system, but reparations and restitution. So what is it? And then if we do need to get rid of the system, then where's the blueprint to get rid of the system? And what are you going to replace it with? See, that's what I'm talking about. Because if you're saying that we have to get rid of something, okay, fine, get rid of it. But what are you going to replace it with? And are you willing to sacrifice?
Justice.
How? What does that look like? See, that's just the word. This is what I'm saying.
No.
Replace it with a system of justice.
A system of justice is a system where everybody, it's a guarantee that everybody gets the most compensable, constructive help that they need, and everybody in the system, non-white, white. I mean, first of all, we got to get rid of. First of all, we got to fix it. I mean, fix it. We have to eliminate it. We have to eliminate it.
Wait. You just said for us though. So are you starting with everybody, or are you just starting with black people first?
I'm starting with every individual on this phone. Okay.
No.
It's an individual thing, and I'm giving you a direct answer. It's an individual. No, I'm starting with myself. You have to start with yourself first before you get to any group.
But that's what I said earlier. Accountability. You have to take accountability for yourself. Then
It's
your
not
community. Then your family.
It's not accountability. What it is change.
But how do you take accountability if you don't have the discussion about what's wrong? So how does a person
because the discussion about what's wrong has been going on for decades.
Well, because this is my answer. I'm saying because you guys are arguing about how to do something on. You're not going to solve that on Spaces, right? And I think maybe that's a space that we can have a discussion and actually dig and dive into that. But I think the blueprint is exactly what the California Task Force is doing. The blueprint is what what they did with the Montgomery boycott, bus boycott. That was a blueprint on how boycotts were to be run to actually smother economics from going into the hands of the dominant society. A blueprint was what Ida B. Wells did. A blueprint was what the late great
real quick, y'all, real quick, because I know everybody wants to comment and stuff like that, but we're kind of losing some of our speakers, some that have been waiting patiently. So I'm gonna go ahead and get to y'all, but we got a RZA. He's been waiting for a minute, so I gotta go ahead and get to him, and I also want to get Tanisha up here too because she has a very important. So I'm gonna go on RZA, then I'm gonna go to Tanisha because she has a very important thing that she wants to tell the room as well too. So that's not to cut anybody off. We're just trying to go ahead and get it in there. So I'm gonna go ahead, RZA, then I'm gonna go to Tanisha, and then the rest of you guys can go ahead. Chase, I know you had your hand up. Put your hand back up. Keep your hands up, y'all, if you can, so I can just go ahead and remember the order as much as possible as well too. So RZA, go ahead and unmute your mic, and then we're gonna get Tanisha up in here as well too. And let me give a shout out to my girl on YouTube, Miss Diane. Diane, thank you for your contribution on PayPal to Newstoter. So thank you pretty much, and I appreciate it as well, sister. So let's go ahead because I also want to hear Tanisha is very important what she needs to say to the room as well too. So RZA, go ahead. I saw you in the comment section, brother. Go ahead and get it in.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
I am really pissed off about some of the things that some of you guys say, but it's based on information that you guys don't have. You got to remember, I grew up in Tuskegee. So I'm going to start out by saying, by covering some of the things that you guys said. I'm going to make this fast because at the same time, I'm hosting a nationwide hotline, and I put them on hold so I could try to address this because this is important. I'm going to start out by saying that Tuskegee is my hometown. So all this stuff that you guys are saying, bits and pieces of the information is correct, but overall it's incorrect. And I am not a fan of the University of Alabama. I do not like that school. I hate that school because the governor stood in front of the school and stopped my mom and a lot of other people from trying to attend the school. They didn't like black people back then. And so I'm an Auburn fan and I'm a Tuskegee fan, War Eagle. So I got that out of the way. Now, I want to address what you guys have said earlier about looking at everything from every angle. Tuskegee did that, but the problem that they had was that the majority of the information was kept outside. Hold on a second. Okay. The majority of the information was kept outside of the system. So everything that Tuskegee did was hands-on. And there was a comment that was made about we cannot let the powers that be forget what they did. No movement forward. You have to remember everything that happened with the Tuskegee experiment. In the same way that we're asking for reparations, we have to also ask that you not forget the turmoil that the people engaged in this experiment went through. Because the experiment was snuck in on the people by the government against the Tuskegee residents. At that time, it was Tuskegee Northern Industrial Institute. So when the lady said that, Booker T. Washington had something, no, this was after he had died. And during the time with Robert Russell Moulton, that's the library. The library was named after him. He didn't know the political climate that he was being introduced to with them. They lied to him. They said something about it being about bad blood and that they were trying to find a way to clean it up. They didn't know. And they died not knowing that this was all part of the plan, was to experiment with these people. They lied about it. And in the cases after the Tuskegee experiment, they basically took the blueprint on how to go forward and try to do things under the radar without having to be held responsible. That's one of the reasons why people don't trust the COVID-19 in Tuskegee, because it has the same remnants of the Tuskegee experiment on how they try to get people to believe that the virus was real and then to expose them to a possible solution. So we already played this game, and we weren't going to do it a second time. Now, the Black Channel, which is TBA, a lot of you guys know, but Jason Black, he talked about Roland Martin and how you have to hold him to a high standard and how you have to not let up on him. Well, the same applies to the government and their taking advantage of people who took the experiment. You have to hold those government officials accountable continuously, because what they did to my grandparents' friends in Newstoter, South Macon, Union Springs, and other places that they end up migrating to was a downright atrocity. It's worse than you guys could ever imagine. I can say that because, like I said, I'm from there. I'm from Tuskegee. I am from that soil. The lynching, the forced rape, the white supremacy, the University of Alabama was the shrine. Auburn was nothing but a polytech institute, and like Tuskegee, they just built themselves from the ground up and became the great university that it is today. And all of those people have to be remembered for their sacrifice. I can understand how some of you guys are emotionally charged, but like I said, I'm trying to get through this. The historical Black colleges and universities contribution ended up shifting into mainstream policies. And a lot of the things that happened in Tuskegee ended up being stuff that most people are not even aware of, that had a tremendous impact on society, like Microsoft Windows. If you guys ever used Microsoft Windows, part of the blueprint for Microsoft Windows came from Tuskegee. I was one of the programmers. There was a program called Windows Open, and we were involved in helping Microsoft be as big as they are today. So they exploited us, but that's okay. Hang on, I'm almost through. Okay, for those of you who are interested in my blueprint, because I'm working on a blueprint right now being made, it's called Project SSB. S is in Sierra, S is in Sierra, B is in Bravo. You can send me an email address at kk4ryg@gmail.com, and I'll make sure that you know the status of that project when it finishes. But it definitely counters the system to create progress in our culture. So I'm working on something as an individual to give back, and I'm just letting you guys know that. All right. The reason why the Jackson State issue is a problem is because most HBCUs lack proper funding, but it isn't racially polarized as someone has you to believe. The NCAA has a lot of attention on Division I and not Division II. Until that changes, it's going to always be a problem. The lady that talked about the sacrifice, she doesn't have any idea about the political atmosphere that was created. I'm not trying to put her down, but it's a lot more polarized than you think. Remember, we're dealing at a time when white supremacy was on a rampage, but there was no legal accountability. And my relatives and my relatives' friends had to experience that. I knew Rosa Parks. I knew Thurgood Marshall. I knew Clarence Thomas. Rosa Parks was a mean lady, though. I gotta say, she was mean. And it was no surprise to me that she didn't want to move from to the back of the bus. She was mean, God. She was mean. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that in there. The payouts was misinformation. To know the actual circumstances regarding the legal payout, you have to call the attorney's office, Fred Gray's office in Tuskegee, to find the numbers in the phone book. The experiments that came after Tuskegee gave the medical sources a way of conducting experiments without being able to be punished. This is why COVID was able to succeed. The research papers have mixed pieces of information, so in order for you to find out what happened, you might have to contact the library, Robert Russell, Bowles Library, and ask for the reference librarian to give you the information from the Washington collection, because that's where it is. It's a secret section that only people have access to. And I'm saying all of this because I don't want you guys to be misled anymore. I'm a supporter of the B1 movement, and our mission is to make sure that we are empowering ourselves. And I don't want you guys to be misled. Again, if you want to see some of the stuff I'm working on, it's called Project SFB. Just send me an email address. Send me an email.
Hold on, brother. What makes you think we are misled?
Hey, man, don't come off the mic, man. You got your hand raised, Chase. You'll be next in line to combat his talking points, man. But go ahead, Reza, 60 seconds, man.
Well, actually, next Tanisha's gonna be next because she has an important message. So we're gonna get to Chase as well, but we got to get to Tanisha as well too. So, but go ahead, Ariza, 60 seconds and close it out.
All right. The reason why a lot of people are being misled is because the information is incomplete. What happened at Tuskegee was not only bad, but they designed it in a way that they would go in, create damage, and get out. To get the true answers, you need to call the university and transfer to the Robert Russell Moulton Library. The phone number, I know it by heart, is area code 334-727-8011. My parents helped build Tuskegee University to what it is today. My mom is known as one of the greatest staff members they ever had. I know this, like I said, this is my hometown. You guys don't have the entire truth, and I don't want you to be misled anymore. If you want to see what I'm doing on my project, don't forget what to do. That's all I can say about that. Hell yeah.
All right, brother. Appreciate you. Miss Tanisha, are you there? You can go ahead and unmute your mic if you are.
Yes, thank you. Newstoters, I want to say thank you first for just allowing me to speak on your platform. And when I first raised my hand, it's because we were talking about racism. And that really touched a button for me because I'm from Virginia. And so as you can, I'm a military brat. All my family was in the military. My father, my uncles, my grandfather served in war. So being in the South, you hear many stories about racism and how they had to sit at the counters and the KKK walking down the street. So as you get older, you know, and you have children, you teach your children still living in the South. I live on the peninsula, so Virginia is like known for the 7 cities: Hampton, Newport News, Virginia Beach, Chesapeake. We as Black people know that if we stay within the 7 cities, we are good. But once we go on, we might encounter some racism, but mostly everybody is mixed, and it's, you know, far few in between. But Virginia is very big. If you go on the outskirts, Gloucester, it's a lot of country in Virginia. All you see is Confederate flags and different racist objects. And so all those things didn't mean so much to me. I knew that I was a Black woman in Virginia and that I was going to encounter racism. I've taught my boys growing up, you know, to be aware of certain things. The first racist thing that really hit me as an adult was with my children in the medical field. So my children one of their pediatricians was racist. And I didn't know this for a couple of years. So that was the first thing that kind of got my wheels turning. Like, are you serious? This is happening to me. I have my children here, this pediatrician, and then she turns out to be racist. Okay, something's changing. And then now this situation with my husband, on the forefront, when you Google his name, you will see that my husband has been charged with 2 counts of criminal homicide from a 13-year-old cold case. So when you look at those reports and you read it, immediately you'll be like, oh, he's guilty. They got DNA this, DNA that. It's different DNA stuff that they're using. There's one is a DNA phenotype, and another one is they're saying that they found his DNA at the scene. There was no forced entry. There was no sign of struggle. These were somebody these people knew, but yet they found droplets of DNA on the stairs and on the door, and they're trying to say that my husband's DNA matches that DNA. My husband, this is from the state of Pennsylvania. My husband is from New York, and at the time he was driving from New York to Pennsylvania to meet a girl that he was dating, and it was her best friend and aunt who was murdered. So as we got deeper and deeper into this case, number one, as his wife of 10 years, I really, really want my husband to be innocent. But wanting him to be innocent and him being innocent are two different things. And I'm no dummy. So being that I was at the beginning of the case and I seen the things that went on, what happened when the detectives popped up at my house, and my husband sat with them at the table and willingly gave them a DNA sample. His mannerisms of not having a care in the world, he literally told me, I don't have anything to worry about. These detectives are barking up the wrong tree. Maybe this will put them on the right path. To them coming back 7 months later, and the first thought in my mind was, you are a black man in America, you have to protect yourself. Okay, you already talked to them one time. Now they're popping up and coming back. You talked to them for an hour, gave them a DNA sample. Why are they here? Now we have to get a lawyer to protect ourselves, which we should have done in the beginning. But nevertheless, that's one of the first thoughts that popped up in my head. To 2.5 years after that second encounter, after they popped up, now they've set the fugitive task force to arrest my husband, traumatize my children, tear up my life, separate our family, and just tear our family apart. I have black boys, so all they worry about is their dad okay? And police officers are bad now, and just from the things that they've seen. So I'm dealing with that. So when that happened, I knew that something wasn't right. You could feel it. If anybody is in tune with their spirit, in tune with someone that you really care about, especially if you've been with a person for a long time, you can smell, you can feel when things don't feel right and they don't add up. It's been 6 months since my husband has been locked up. And the things that have been presented in this case are so dirty that it's hard to put it into words to get people to understand what we are going through. It's not that they've just locked up an innocent black man. I believe, and I'm going to say I believe because, anyone can hear this and they've already tried to stop different things. And I'm talking about the detectives and the people who are trying to lock him up, stop different things financially in my life from happening. So I can't pay for his lawyer, but they know that they are putting away an innocent black man. And they did that because they thought he was an easy target. They thought that no one would care and that they could quietly do this because they've been doing it. This is not new in Huntington, Pennsylvania. This is something that they have been doing to minorities, to people on a regular basis. And you wouldn't know that if you live in Virginia or if you live someplace else, if you're not part of that community and you don't understand how racist they are, how evil they are, how much of a buddy system is going on there, that it's not just the corrections officers, it's the corrections officers, the police, the DA, the judges are all because it's about money. They're a poor hick town. And so it's an election year also. So this is not only just another notch on the DA's belt. This is something that they are regularly doing because it's a lot of racist things going on. It's a lot of corruption. As a matter of fact, there was just an article written last month in November about one of the black police officers up there suing because of racism. Now, my husband has been in there for 6 months, and he's been telling me the stuff that is going on. Imagine being someone who worked in the jail system and now is on the inside. One thing that the corrections officers say to him all the time is, you don't fit the bill of a person, 2 counts of criminal homicide. But they also openly talk about the racism and the corruption and the stuff that's going on between these lawyers and these judges up there. The stories that he tells me of the public defenders who are purposely railroading people and making them take charges even when they have no evidence. It sounds like something in a storybook. It doesn't sound like it's actually happening. The reason why I can tell you that it's actually happening is because it's part of my life. And it's something that I've talked to my kids about, but I never ever thought that we would actually have to deal with something so big or something so unjust. Maybe my boys may have got, they would have been in a store and you thought they were stealing or something, and I had to deal with that, or they heard a racist remark here or something, but I can deal with that. But I can't deal with the police coming to lock up my black children or my black husband for something that he didn't do. And they know he didn't do it. And now I'm fighting that and proving that. So I wanted to say that real quick, because some of you know exactly what's going on with me. But what is going on with me is that my family is fighting an injustice. So to take a couple of hours and listen to your space was something that I normally don't do, because I'm normally enthralled in figuring out. Right now, I'm on a time crunch to raise funds for my husband. Our family has already paid $30,000 to his lawyer. His lawyer is $100,000. I have $30,000 more to pay by the 15th, and I have to figure it out, because if he does not have a lawyer, and this is why most people are wrongfully incarcerated, they stay incarcerated, is because they can't afford a lawyer. He's not coming home. They are actively hoping and wishing that he does not have the funds to pay for the lawyer, so they can give him one of their court-appointed lawyers who's going to work directly with the DA to try to make a plea deal or keep him in jail to close this case that he didn't do. So I have a GoFundMe. If you guys stop by my page, please share it. Tell someone about it, because this is really important. It's happening to me, but it can happen. If it can happen to me, it can happen to you. If it can happen to my husband, who's never had a criminal record in his life, ex-law enforcement, business owner, family man, then it can happen to anyone, because we didn't see it coming. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, sister, and I'm sorry to hear about this. I went ahead and I retweeted it out, and I also put in the Jumbotron as well too. So anybody that wants to go ahead and donate, it's in the actual Jumbotron. We put it in there. So if you guys want to go ahead and donate, share it out, retweet it, try to get as much attention as possible. Definitely, like I said, I'm definitely sorry to hear about that, and we would definitely support you, and we'll definitely try to do what we can do to try to get it out there as much as possible, sister. So our heart goes up.
I apologize, because when you go into the GoFundMe, they shut my initial GoFundMe down that I was talking about what my husband was going through. Ever since Kyle Rittenhouse raised that ungodly amount of money, you cannot raise money on GoFundMe for violent crimes. So there is some things about my husband in there, but I did not say his name. I did not specify the crime, and I did that on purpose, because they literally and I know that it was bigger powers, and I'm talking about DAs and detectives who made sure it was shut down instantly, but they will shut it down. So I just wanted you guys to know that, because I have what's going on, though GoFundMe says a little bit about it, but it doesn't say everything about it. Okay? So the amount is $100,000. because the rest of the money that I owe totally is $70,000. And that is just for the lawyer. If he needs, which he's going to need, his lawyer's reaching out for some pro bono work. Hopefully we get it. He's going to need a DNA expert. He might need private detectives. All of that is extra. So that's extra past the $100,000. So I have $70,000 more to pay. $30,000 by December 15th. Okay? Thank you again.
Thank you, sister. Let me go ahead and I'm gonna get to Chase, Dana, and I'm gonna get to Ree. So Chase, go ahead and unmute your mic. Chase, you there? We give Chase 1 second. Maybe a delay.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
No problem.
Good talk. Can y'all hear me good?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, to the sister that was just speaking, I'm really sorry you got to go through that shit, and I hope everything works out. You know, I'm positive that it will. I need to address what the brother Arenza has said. You know, I'm taking it you don't really got decades on you like that and living life, bro. But, you know, for you to say that some of y'all people are speaking the truth, but then you're not because you're wrong. That's kind of like an oxymoron. You know, either we're speaking the truth or we're not. And, you know, and for you to say that we're misled and misguided, brother, Tuskegee is very well documented. Now, there might be some things like that we won't know because we're not privy of being in that area, like some certain names and everything like that. But that don't mean that we're wrong speaking about Tuskegee, bro. And for you to say, you people are misguided, bro, that's an asinine statement.
Can I speak?
I mean, yeah, if you want to, I guess, address it real quick, but we got other hands.
Yeah, it's got to be real quick because we got other hands, and the space ain't gonna go on too much long either.
I got you. I'm not there.
Real quick.
All right. I'm making that.
I appreciate it. Not everybody wants to see. That's why we bad. You receive, bro. You ain't got to build up enough. Go through and receive. You ain't got to keep going. That's why we're bad. What you said, I believe, and I understand. You ain't got to keep going. Okay.
I know, I understand, but I owe it to the people that died.
You receive, bro. You are received. I receive.
Okay, I'm gonna make this fast and for the mods. Tuskegee University and growing up in Tuskegee, Alabama was one of the greatest experiences I could have in my entire life. I knew those people. When I closed my eyes, I could see their faces. I could see their frustration, their tears, the time that we marched on the streets of Montgomery and Atlanta singing "We Shall Overcome." I was there. I'm 51, and I was young enough that I remember all of those people, and my grandparents were pointing at things at me and told me, and I quote, "Never forget what you see today, because when you get older, you're going to have to explain it." I grew up in Tuskegee. I went to Tuskegee University before I moved to Alaska. What I'm telling you is the damn truth. I'm not saying that what you haven't heard is untruthful. All I'm saying is I'm giving you more of a polished version of what's going on. I'm a diehard supporter of the B1 movement. In fact, I sound a lot like Jason Black. You guys have no idea. But one day you'll find out. If you Google my name, you'll pretty much be able to see my parents were civil rights activists, and I've been marching with them up until the moment they died. So what I'm telling you is the truth. And I'm not trying to put anybody down or say that, you know, you're bad or something like that. I'm not saying any of that. All I'm saying is there's more to it. White supremacy doesn't sleep, guys. If they could take a little bit of truth and mix it with a lot of negativity to get an edge on us, they will do it. And that's what they did in those research papers. Those people do not know. I know because I grew up and I was put on the shoulders physically as a kid, on their shoulders, walking around town. I knew the Commodores. Lionel Richie and my mom were friends growing up. I had the same music teacher as Lionel Richie. I'm 51. I was born in 71. So everything that you think about me, brother, I'm telling you, is the damn truth. Tuskegee was my home, and I know what they did to those people, and I'm not going to let it go. And I got a project right now that's going to shock the entire financial system. If you want to know what it is, send me an email at kk4ryg@gmail.com, and in the subject space, put Project SSB, and I will show you what Tuskegee may need to be. That's all I want to say.
Okay, brother, thank you. And let me just say this to the room. We have the 3 final speakers for the night. We have Dana, we have One Love Black Ree, and we're going to have Judge Sarah. Those are going to be the absolute last 3 speakers. So if anybody requests to speak, I am not at this point, because we're going to be closing the space out. We've been going almost 3 hours. I am going to have to get to you in the next space. So I'm just saying that respectfully. I know sometimes when we have people speak, somebody requests to speak or they'll put their hands up. I'm just letting everybody know respectfully, no disrespect to anybody, but we're going to go ahead and be closing this space out soon. I don't know if DJ's going to be doing one. I think he was in the space late last night, so he may not be doing one tonight. But these are going to be the absolute last 3 speakers. I'm going to give them 3 minutes each to go ahead and speak. And then we're going to go to the next speaker as well, too, because we've been going since 8 o'clock, and we'll be back tomorrow night. So these are going to be the last 3 speakers for the night. I'm going to go Dana. I'm going to go One Love Black, and then I'm going to go Judge Sarah. So those are going to be the last 3 speakers for the night, y'all. So if anybody requests to speak, respectfully, I'm just letting you guys know that we're going to go ahead and we'll have to get to you in the next space. So Dana, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Okay, thanks. So yeah, I kind of agree with Chase's last comment is because everybody that came up on your platform today was correct and had valid points that made sense, right? That I would definitely agree with. So it was a great speech. Now, I do stand corrected that, yes, Booker T. Washington died in 1915, and the Tuskegee, quote-unquote, experiment started in 1932 on paper, but my reference is the Medical Apartheid book. It's not a book that you open up and leisurely read. It is literally a reference book. And when I was referencing that particular incident of Tuskegee, Booker T. Washington, and not saying that it was something that he was trying to harm Black people, but he let the fox in the hen house because he started the National Negro Health Week a year before he died, and he partnered with the U.S. Department of Public Health at that time. So that is literally letting the fox in the hen house. However, he partnered with a lot of wealthy billionaire white people to help finance Tuskegee Institute. Back then, you really had no choice. Yes, you built your schools and you had your own money, but you needed funding from the billionaires because that was before they were giving grants to Black schools and institutions at that time. With that said, so that Tuskegee Institute, it was experiments happening before 1932. And this US government will never admit to it. They're not going to present it to you and offer you an apology. So that's not the first. That wasn't the beginning of that experiment. That was happening under Booker T. Watch. Did he intentionally want to harm Black people? No. So a lot of times we invite the fox in, and that was then. Now today in 2023, we know better. That's what my overall conclusion is. We know better because we know what happened then. You have more choices now. So where I'm coming from as far as accountability is if people, and by the way, Booker T. Washington was not liked by probably half of Black America, but that's a whole nother space. But what I'm saying is, whether it's Booker T, WB, or anybody, Black person, whether he was a sharecropper or a business owner at that time, they took accountability, even though they had faced far worse than we do today, right? They took accountability and they made sure the fight for civil rights, equality, better laws to benefit us in 2023. So for us to be at the low, still at the bottom of the social economic generational wealth gap, for us to still be at the bottom, that's a problem. That's a problem that we are not educating ourselves We're not taking what they did then, right? Because you can't do exactly the same, but you could use that blueprint and present it in a different way for today. Because we have all these advancements, all of these technologies that we are not taking advantage of to progress and utilize to make our situations better. So yes, the system of racism is always going to exist. A lot of times we participate in it, but at the same time, you do have to be involved in the system and understand how it operates in order for you not to still be stuck at the bottom of it. So yeah, I'm all about the blueprint. I'm not about they keep putting a foot on my neck. Nobody has a foot on my neck.
All right, Dana, appreciate that, sister. And I'm glad to have you in the space as always. And I believe this was the first time you spoke in one of the Newstoter spaces. I know I spoke in.
Yes. And then too, let me just say this for you. I love your website. I'm gonna start using your website for the full articles to talk about on my show. And I even invited you on my show, but you're too busy for me. That's all right.
No, I just Sunday, and this is the freest time. But yeah, we're gonna hook up because I definitely need to come on there. We definitely got to hook up, and I definitely appreciate it. And I just in case you don't know, I've been one reason I'm closing the space out tonight because I'm playing a caretaker to a family member, and I've been the past 2 nights I may have got maybe about 8-9 hours worth of sleep, so I have just been on the go lately.
Just let me know whatever day you're available, and we'll do a show on YouTube so you can promote your platform. And me and the judge doing a space. I don't know what time tomorrow.
Okay.
But yeah. But definitely, just hit me up and let me know what your schedule looks like. Yeah.
Thank you, sister. I appreciate that, and thank you for showing some support to the platform as well. To Ariza, like I say, they're going to be the last 2 speakers tonight, brother. Like I say, because I got to go ahead and get up out of here in a second. So I'm gonna let One Black and I'm gonna let Judge Sarah go ahead and kick it. And like I said, I appreciate you contributing tonight, but I need to really go ahead and try to go ahead and get up off of here as quick as I can and whatnot. So let me go ahead and get One Black, and then we're going to go ahead and One Love, and we're going to go ahead and get Judge Sarah. Guys, about 3 minutes, as much as possible, to try to keep it to 3 minutes if you guys can. I know you may go a little bit over, but if you can, please try to keep it to 3 minutes. Go ahead, Ree, and unmute your mic.
Thanks, Newstoter. And thank you, Tanisha, for coming up and sharing your platform. And to everybody in this space, Ariza, I did follow you on 2 other platforms, so I'll definitely have to link up with you because I'm very an inquisitive person, and I do like to dig and uncover factual information. Everybody was great. It was awesome to see Dana, Professor, everybody on the stage, and everyone in the room. So I'm going to land it and say this. I think that again, the blueprints were already given, and I think that there are a pocket of organizations. You have to excuse me, my voice is going out. There are a pocket of organizations that have been established, but they are not doing the groundwork in the Black communities, and a lot of the boule and I'm going to throw them under the bus. Fraternity sororities or the alumni that we always like to discuss when it comes to sports do not do enough with their platforms in engaging with the Black community. Neither does the Black church until Sunday comes and people want to pass the plate around for tithes. Yeah, I said it. We can't seem to implement a blueprint because people want to rely on history as it was solely back on yesteryears, but not realize the impacts of what has happened and where we are today and what people are doing today. A lot of people are practicing classism, and they look like us. And they're also trying to keep out people who in our community who need repair on a lower level. That is a true statement, and it's something that I've seen for my eyes. The initiative for homelessness that was happening in Los Angeles, especially with the 55% of America's population of homelessness prior to immigration, today was 55% Black Americans. but yet somehow the accountability is on Black Americans who literally are in a position, and some of those people came from Wall Street. I saw an article about a Black man who literally was on Wall Street and he ended up on Skid Row. And no one is stating why is it that there was no resources given to the people in those areas. And Los Angeles is not the only place where homelessness is hitting hard for Black Americans. The displacement that continues to happen in our country, which is why Denise's space about Roy Beck and the Back of the Hiring Line was so important, because every time we try to cover and recharge and regroup, we have to contend with other nationalities that come in and push us to another class. So we have multiple things that are actually hitting us at multiple times. We have people in our own community who practice classism and elitism, and they don't like to assist people because they believe, well, I made it, you should be too. Then you have people in our community on the opposite end of the spectrum who feel like they shouldn't have to do anything because the government is going to be what it is. All they got to do is stay Black and die, and that neither of those are true. But then you have the people in the middle who are fighting, who are looking to try to get into public office, who are setting up organizations and committees, who are trying to get young kids to code, young Black American kids to learn how to code, so that way our community has a chance to compete. But we're not doing it, as you said, Dana, in a collective way. But for those of us here who are in the grassroots, who no one knows about us, we speak about that all the time. But we're not on large platforms. So if I had to say this to Isaiah Washington, he said the same thing. We're constantly in a position where we're saying we need to do this, that, and the third. And I had to tell him to stop being so cynical. Because if no one is stepping in the lens to stand in the gap to try to do anything, then no one will do anything. Neither the elites nor the ones who think all they got to do is stay Black and die. So at the end of the day, if we really want to talk about accountability has to go full circle, not just from the lens of the people who are suffering and are in poverty, but also from the lens of the people who have an economic leg and they are not reaching back and utilizing that to actually build up our communities. So, I mean, that's how I feel, and I talk about it all the time. And I think, everybody has a position in this fight, a voice in this fight, and somewhere in the middle lies the truth. And I land my plane.
Okay, sister. Let me go ahead and get to Judge Sarah. Judge Sarah, go ahead and unmute your mic. I can't hardly hear you, Judge Sarah. Yeah, it's kind of a little bit.
I've been sitting in the car listening to y'all.
Okay, now we can hear you.
Yeah, I don't want to keep, because I understand that you have to go. I want to say something, and I want to say it quickly about the system. And I can't get too deep in this. This is going to be an ongoing thing. It's not that the system is fucked up. The system in America was created, the Constitution was for the people, by the people. The problem is we Black people are not participating in the system in the way in which we should. And one of my things, I want to say this, and I just no disrespect. I'm just saying this because it's one of the things that I see. I see that those who are successful, educated, and doing well are condemned. And one of the reasons why they may not reach back or attempt to reach back in the way in which you want them to is because how they're attacked and how they're perceived. Ma'am Tanisha, my heart is broken for you. Okay? My heart is broken for you because I know you're telling me the truth. And one of the reasons why they did that to your husband, because they could. Okay? And I don't want to compare ourselves to other groups, but if that was an animal or a dog that was murdered, killed, or wronged, the other man would go crazy to protect them. Do you understand what I'm saying? When 9/11 happened, we all got together and was against our attacker. The fact that you're in this room saying your husband was maligned
And what black people don't get, he was maligned because he's black. Okay? So that could be anybody in this room. It has to do with values. And we have to improve our values. Sister, my heart is broken because I don't know how I can help you because I don't have $70,000 for you. If I did, trust me, I would give it to you. And that's real. I just, you know what, if you DM me your cash app, I could give you something. My heart is hurting because she's not lying. And 9 times out of 10, her husband's innocent. They did that to him because they could do it to him. And I don't want to attack the room. I don't want to blame people who look like me because this has to do with our condition. But I need you to understand, they keep doing this to us because they can. And I'm going to stop there.
All right, sister, I appreciate that. DJ, I'm gonna go ahead and let you say something real quick. Keep it real quick, and we can go ahead and close the space out.
Yeah, I just want to mute my mic to Sister Tanisha Johnson. So if you got 30 more seconds, Tanisha, and to break this down as quickly as possible, so we'll let Tata go. But go ahead, sister.
What did you need me to say?
As much as whatever information. Hey, get in the jumbotron. Get it up on the GoFundMe for Mariko Johnson, right there, Mariko Johnson. So if you want to say something, just real quick, go ahead. Just make it quick, though, Mom.
I just want to say, you know what? Every little bit helps. And together, if everyone gives a little bit, then we can get collectively to where we need to be. Because this is bigger than Mariko. This is about a system that, guess what? If you are wrongly accused, you don't have a dog in the fight if you do not have proper legal representation. There are a lot of brothers, sisters out there who need help. And this system, this prison system is a cash cow. It's about money. It's about money. And I don't understand how these people sleep at night. You go on my page, I just did a GoFundMe. It has some information up there, but I could not put that he is accused of a violent crime. They will shut it down. There are other ways on my page that you can donate through all forms. Every little bit helps. Tell somebody, because this is not just about him. This is about your children. This is about your loved ones. If they can snatch up him, they'll snatch you up. And they're doing it using junk science and stuff that people really don't understand because all they see is DNA. They don't do the research behind it. And if you do the research behind it, you can understand that you can be racially profiled real quick and be snatched up and taken out of your family's life. And we need our Black brothers in our homes. Thank you for letting me speak.
All right. And I just want to say thank you to everybody who came to the space tonight, all our speakers and listeners, everybody who tweeted it out, and everybody who shared the space. I definitely appreciate it. We're going to have a pretty good space tomorrow, too. I have an idea for a topic that I want to touch up on as well, too. So I'll let you guys know. I'll send out the tweets and the invites and everything like that. And if you guys can't catch it live, then you can always catch the recording. We always go ahead and record the spaces. So be sure. And if you're not on, if you can't catch it on, if you're having issues with Twitter Space, and you can go to YouTube and catch it live. We're going to go ahead and stream it live tomorrow as well, too. So let me just say, you guys, I put up in the Jumbotron Dana's YouTube channel. If you get a chance, please go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also, I put the Newstoter YouTube channel up there as well, too. Go ahead and subscribe. We need more subscribers to that channel. Also, the newsletter is also in there, too. I haven't sent out a newsletter in a couple months, but I'm going to go ahead and start back sending the newsletter, but we still need some subscribers to it. And if you can, support us on Cash App. It's $Newstoter, $Newstoter. In case you don't know, Newstoter is the largest Black American-owned news curation platform today in America. Make sure you guys, when you see us tweet out some information and stuff, make sure you go ahead and tweet it out to your followers as well, too, so we can go ahead and spread the message about some of this news and stuff that's affecting us, that's going out. Let's try to get some of this stuff to go viral and stuff, too, as well. So to everybody who's in the space, again, thank you guys. On this Sunday edition, normally we don't do Sunday, but we will do a Sunday one here and there. So thank you guys for coming to the space. Definitely appreciate it. And we will see you tomorrow night.
Peace.
Peace, everybody.
Peace.
Peace.